key actors.
5 years.
5.
I used to muster the courage
After
to
I'd
speak
left
to
the
her.
school and come back.
That's when she finally.
One Saturday, you know, with a gang of friends, when we went to their house, and I sent for her. I didn't think she would come, and she did.
Aww.
And I saw her. She had mellowed. You know, she used to be a little too hostile towards me.
It was all
As
love.
we all should be.
Yeah. It's all love.
Towards men.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
you're
you're right.
interested, but
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
hard to
You
get.
pretend.
I'd be showing interest in her lineup of friends just so I could walk alongside them. I'm telling you.
sweet.
My bro.
Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. Tell me. How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. I heard all the people saying, get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Come on and get down on it. Baby, baby. Get down on it. Get on it. Get down on it. I say people. What you gonna do? You gotta get on the groove if you want your body to move. Tell me, baby, how you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. Tell me, how you gonna do it if you really wanna take a chance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. I heard all the people saying, get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. When you're dancing, get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Sha-da-ba-da-ba-da. Do you wanna get down? What you gonna do? Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get your back up off the wall. Dance, come on. Get down on it. Come on then. Get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down on it. Get down. Come on then. Get down on it. Baby, baby. Get down on it. Get on it. Get down on it. How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Tell me, baby, how you gonna do it if you really won't take a chance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up off the wall. Listen, baby, you know it. Oh, when you're dancing, yeah, you show it. Oh, when you move, 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 you know it. Oh, when you're dancing, yeah, you show it. As you move across the floor. Get down on it.
Time radio to explain a personal matter between, say, your daughter and a boyfriend. Do you realize that that did quite a bit of damage to that party? When you, till today, everybody likes to talk about the so-called identification haircuts. Can you see that link? And would you have done things differently? That's my question.
David Ampofo, let me tell you this. Whether I'm a first lady or I'm an ordinary citizen in this country, I will go in defense of my children any day when I know they're doing the right thing. I will never follow a child if the child is doing the wrong thing. I will deal with that child. But when that
Why
child
on radio?
Because that's where they were actually dealing with her.
But is it not almost petty to descend to that level? Because
don't call it petty.
It is.
I don't know, maybe if you have your children at a certain age and this is going on, you can call it petty. But for me, it wasn't petty. It was destroying a child who was growing up properly, destroying that child totally. And I honestly don't want to go into this again.
Do you think your radio appearance helped that?
I don't want to go into this again.
I'm finalizing it, but do you think your radio appearance...
I'm not even going to comment on this again.
Because there are people that say that it's almost...
David, I won't comment on it again. Ms. Ampofo, it's finished. Because if I go into it again, we'll have the whole hula baloo starting again. I've heard it again on the radios. I've decided I won't comment. Because for me, I have checked my daughter, and I'm happy with what's going on. I don't want to comment on this matter anymore. I honestly don't.
How is your husband?
He's well, keeping body and soul together.
Once in a while they complain that he's not being treated well. Is that correct? Is that a fair criticism?
Well, it depends on what you mean by he's not treated correctly.
No, I'm saying you say that. We hear that perhaps some monies due him have not been paid and so on. I'm saying, what is your own view of the way this government is treating your husband?
David, I don't know if you've looked at the Constitution itself. If you've looked at what the Constitution says, you'll know what should be done and what is
They've said
done.
They will. I saw it in the papers, in the work here.
Well,
But what is your view? What is your view?
They've written it in the papers a number of times.
Is he happy?
I don't think that you should, ask me things
about
like
him.
that. When you meet him, you can ask him these questions. But I'd like to say that, in all the things that are supposed to be done, that are not being done, a number of occasions, have come up where
the list of key actors under the PNDC would always be incomplete without the mention of Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings. She wasn't a Secretary of State, but she constructed an edifice using the context of probity and accountability. She used a lot of women to achieve many objectives. She was largely successful. Within a few years, the 31st December Women's Movement had become a power bloc in the country.
I'm not naive to assume that I'm coming to stop corruption. There is no way I can stop corruption. God himself will not even acclaim to that. But I am going to make corruption very costly. Very, very costly to engage in terms of conflict of interest. First, I'm going to institute what I call pressure for progress. And in this quest, there will be a systemic review of all public agencies.
What was the word you...
I said I have termed it pressure for progress.
Pressure for progress.
Yes.
Very well. I thought it was a Latin word you
No.
spoke. I think get it out.
I'm going to institute systemic reviews of public sector institutions and the development of integrity plans. And here, this is what I intend to do. Why can't we have our own corruption perceptions index, for instance? Why can't I rank public sector agencies against each other, and at the end of the year, publicize the results as to which institution is performing well and which institution is not performing well? In that quest, if you are head of an institution and persistently your institution is drawing the short straw in terms of the perception of corruption, from the point of view of experts, from the point of view of business people, you will set up.
For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility. You were not going to achieve anything from that, but you went ahead to pass it. I disagreed with you, but I was alone. For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility. You were not going to achieve anything from that, but you went ahead to pass it. For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility. You were not going to achieve anything from that, but you went ahead to pass it. I disagreed with you, but I was alone. Well, I'm very clear in my mind that that authority is embedded in the powers of the Attorney General, constitutionally. What you just need to do is to fund the office of the Attorney General well and remove the Minister of Justice. You separate the two. Minister of Justice is a political appointee. The Attorney General is a technical person, and he only is ranked in conditions of service to that of a Minister of State. It doesn't mean they have to be incorporated too. I have no problem with Attorney General being a minister. I'm only saying you separate that from the Minister of Justice. Yes.
But there is doom looming ahead of us. That very soon, a murderer will boldly walk to court to seek an injunction. Should I feel frustrated and resign? I took an oath when I was sworn in. And in my life, when I take on the reins to do something, I do it to the best of my ability. Those who do not understand tree, please forgive me. They say I'm a unkwanoma. But they make cry about for it. Me yet they to me.
Report purporting or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Prisons and myself. And if anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him. People have tried it. I have survived, and this one too, I'll survive. all that happened, one of the reasons was because of Mr. Akurugu. He wanted Mr. Akurugu to be seconded to his office, and I said no. Mr. Akurugu is a customs officer, primarily employed to do customs work. And he is to partner Mr. Akutofachin in that office, African Continental Free Trade Area. He deals with tariffs and valuation. And therefore, I cannot second him to the office of the special prosecutor because he has a primary role to play in customs. And then he comes back through the Commissioner General. And again, I said, I insist and will go by that he has a primary role. It is when I don't have a role for him or I can dispense of his services, I have others to do what he's going to do, that I will give him to you. So I insist. And he calls me to his office when in relation to La Bianca. And at the end of it, he talks to me about this same matter. And I said, yes, it is not the Commissioner General. I wrote it. Go and check it. And I have my reasons. He will not be released to you. He will be in customs. And then behind me, he goes to resign. He's given the position of Commissioner of Police a rank, and he's now with your office. And he goes to make allegations that Mr. Duche and myself, we hate him, and they will deal with us. So that is it. That is the basis of that publication. But if you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. And those who are behind it, they know themselves. They know themselves. They've tried it several times. It is not working, and they want it won't work. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do. Not to say that they should do further investigations up to 2017. Up to 2015, I have letters written by Deputy Commissioner Denis Agavo granting similar things. And I produced them when he called me. He didn't have the letters, but I had the letters. My predecessor, Mr. Kenson, had those letters. This is common practice in customs. If you want to remove me, I have no problems. I won't be Commissioner Customs forever. I'm ready to go. But don't disgrace me. Don't hide behind people for your own failures, incompetencies, and then come and deal with me. Reports purporting or coming from the office of the special prosecutor, trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and myself. And anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame.
Government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Right. Assalamu alaikum. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. Today is the 24th of October 2025. Welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I know you don't want to miss this. You tune in every morning to the show. We're very grateful that you've done that today as well. My name is Audu Moro, and it's a pleasure to come your way. It's a beautiful Friday morning. And as always, implore my fellow Muslims, today is a Friday. Let's meet at the mosque at 12:30 and worship Allah. But let me say that big thanks to the Almighty for giving us that rare privilege of returning here to join the nation's conversation on the big issues that are making the rounds in our dear country, Ghana. So I'll go straight ahead and look at what the newspapers are reporting this morning. So I'm talking about the banner headlines of the newspapers that we have today. And I'll start with the Daily Graphic, as always. Daily Graphic has Nana Konadu passes away. Nana Konadu passes away. That has the beautiful picture of former First Lady, Her Excellency Nana Konadu. She's passed away. So that's on the front page of today's Daily Graphic. Now, Metro Lens this morning says overwhelming support for Bawumia. 63 MPs declare backing. And there's also former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings dies. It's also on today's Metro Lens. And there's Ga Manche to chair NHIA's maiden stakeholders conference. And there's From Fat Lies to Empty Lies, the new case of Fourth Estate against Razak Kojo Opoku. That's also on the front page of today's Metro Lens. The Daily Statesman says Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings passes on. And there's a LGBTQ ghost chases NDC after using it for 2024 campaign. More MPP MPs back Bawumia for 2028 flag bearer. Professor Champon cautions teacher agency over scripted lessons. And there's a Birim Central MCE debunks Galamsey extortion allegation. The Ghanaian Times. Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings passes on at 76. Is it 76 or 77? Some of the newspapers are reporting 77. Some say 76. Anyway, right information must be a living reality for citizens. AG, stop BSK city developers from encroaching Weve Water Treatment Plant, GWL. Now, small-scale mining permit audit, 300 licenses revoked for irregularities, non-compliance with operational standards, according to Lands Minister. CID arrest 5 for trafficking 57 Nigerians for cybercrime in Ghana. That's with the Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide, 63 MPP MPs endorse Bawumia for flag bearer. Former First Lady Nana Konadu is gone. There's a Dubuahine wants judge off case. Lawyer walks out. 57 Nigerians rescued, 5 arrested in a human trafficking cybercrime syndicate busts. The Weekend Crusading Guide. Haruna Idrisu calls for rethink of education priorities. Brian Champon clarifies fertilizer distribution. And as Occupy Ghana blast government again, says Ghana needs action, not talk shops. Make education inclusive, Professor Champon to African leaders. Stay in court, leave the streets for Shatawale. Gordon Asarbediakon, AG, trade words. There's MPP flag bearer race, 63 minority MPs line up behind Bawumia. Former NLA PR manager dares Fourth Estate. The Insight. Bahama, he says Ghana's judiciary a model of affirmative action, and there's push Mean Energy to pay us now, aggrieved prepaid contractors urge ECG. The former First Lady, Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, dies aged 77. And there's a Towards Continental Liberation, the radical Manchester event that changed Africa. As NHIS reversed manual processes amid LHIMS crisis. Brazil's MST vows to organize internationalist brigades to support Venezuela in the case of U.S. invasion. The Informer. Oral report not fit for purpose, Domelevo. Sad Nana Konadu passes on. That's sad. Nana Konadu passes on. OSP not under Aegis control. Yunus Afuseni clarifies massive revolt hit NDC over unpopular directive to party lawyers. Let's collaborate to resolve disputes, Interior Minister urges. The Inquisitor. Yunus Afuseni educates public. OSP is crucial. Office provides deterrent against corruption. Ayine comments Chumbuafo. There's MPA intensifies LPG safety campaign in tertiary institutions. Ebuakwa South MP wants health laws to tackle Africa's inequality crisis. The Herald. Attorney General pursues $127 million stolen state cash by husband and wife teams. And there's also the NIMOS boss threatening illegal miners with Armageddon. Acute asthma cited in Nana Kunido's death. The Daily Post. Mahama reaffirms commitment to transform Ghana's transport and logistics sector. The former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo dies aged 76. Mahama swears in 37 new justices of the High Court. And there's 2026 World Cup. Players who turned Ghana down previously should count themselves out. Ket Okreku. Ket, I totally disagree with you on this one. I totally disagree with you, but it's a conversation for another day. The Catholic Standards. Holy Seven. Faith's new stars shine across 4 continents. And the Rosary Congress draws thousands to Christ the King. Cardinal touches down for double Jubilee South African prelate to grace historic Cape Coast celebrations. And the stranded and stressed, chaos hits school placement again. Parents cry for help as online system falters. And then there's the favorite of the editorial that says Faith Without Borders. That's what the Catholic Standard. So stay with us. This is Good Morning Ghana. We'll be right back.
Hello my friends, my name is Kelkit Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me, that's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kelkits, Happy smile.
In life, choice is good, but choice plus safety is way better. Your safety and comfort is paramount. Under the cylinder recirculation model, you can buy LPG in a safe environment. All cylinders are inspected and maintained to the best safety standards, so your safety is assured. Just take your empty cylinder to the nearest exchange point and swap it for a filled cylinder. Different cylinder sizes will be available to meet your pocket size. Imagine cooking in a smoke-free environment. This will improve the health and well-being of you and your family. Choose LPG in a safer model of distribution. Cylinder recirculation model. Securing your safety. Creating more jobs. A message from the National Petroleum Authority under the patronage of the Ministry of Energy.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson, Asamo.
Me didn't tum. Mr. Frammy Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Frammy once now. Hey, that's on you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain was key to double the accent. Me did it, Sasso spray. Mr. Frammy Sasso quell. Yeah, come, my Sasso, come tum preko.
Abina. Edi asema, menya oden. O tianti mu amanfo ada. O hye me boso beto phone na mame. Me phone na say dada. Menya oden.
The most surprised man.
Surprise ben.
Surprise.
Hey, Kofi papa. E phone o. iPhone 13. Nanya ne.
Ende, me frankofo bi mienu. Amuko circle. Ene ba ko ne ka chena dan for hour. Ono odi ni Ghana card. Eko EBA phone so a. Otua 40% pen edi ni phone man no a. Da aka no betua ne kakra. Timothy ya me drop na me so me call ho. Ana me kwanya wo phone de brɛ no.
Oh, Kofi papa me da se. I'm sure.
Baby, ko good. Let's say on.
Wo EBA phones hadie, yeton iPhones ne ho akade nyina. Ye sanso de ma wholesale. So ye dealer na so pedodo atua. Anase afi na wo hye iPhone business na sia. Braya se ye, hwehwe ye chira kwan e wa Accra Circle Mall. Any Tiptoe Lane, modern photos in chain. American Monso, ye ni Odor Rice ene edi nhwenim. Kumase ye wedum ejekuma brunsan nim. Obetumi so hu ye e wo www.
Ande saba e wo mo bodi ma nke kwana mo ba.
Oh ko se ena me di asemasi o. Kane ne pa no na saa na me so ya na wode me. Edure na adi me nkwa no Kingdom Garlic Bitters.
No, mo benefit him.
Me benefit wine. Oso ko to de.
Abrewa, this man abrante me shuve. Unanti kakra na wabre. Nom Kingdom Garlic Bitters ene ne capsules. Nenya hoden abre bia.
Kingdom Garlic Bitters ene ne capsules.
Asembia nye ho.
Edeben we hu ama wani agise. Senior na me wife company one personal. Kingdom Ginseng Power Capsules nti. Sesia mpaso aye deck.
Kingdom Ginseng Power Capsules. Emani chie ni asumdie befi abre bia. Oba bia o de pu ahaw no. Edro ba kupa wo hia ne Tremendous Capsules. Tremendous Capsules esiesie wo ma wo ye obasima. Enro yi wo benya bi wo ba bia ye ton ro bia. Kingdom Herbal, no challenger.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
I'm the second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa dear. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late, of course.
Star 712 hush, star 712 hush. Yeah, you go
Kofi be the luckiest. Kofi from Georgia be luckiest. From not the block, she be luckiest. Yeah, you Kofi be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go be the luckiest.
That's Kwamio!
Send your God down for boom. If you put it to so would the coming of the Son of Man be. Hey. Is that his car?
Dial star 712 # choose your ticket, enter your lucky number, follow the prompt, and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
Zinato mi ma shedding pa Zanato neda makoma so nti nyame ma abotare so ma na fimu
maame no ewo no aboye mpusu ewie ya na yete se na esinie na eya areho na san ya ayemhihie de kire se me market omuno musi market ni mayen enam ne bodin boso school see market ni no say emma no ye adwuma na yeto de say emma so enko school nti we see market school or market ni mama yen ye gusu enko school no operate up to now nti waye bebre nkola ni bi mponie Just obi ono okite ba no de ba na ba school no oton ade ti e pon anu abefa ne ba no ne ko nti ma me no waye bebre na amaye.
If I had Ghana in my hand, I've said one thing already about trying to bridge the traditional and the
culture.
And what?
Culture.
Yeah, the culture with modern politics. Because I feel that if we are able to do that, it will recondition all our minds into knowing that it's important to care about Ghana and make Ghana work. And then through that, we would also know that if everybody were pilfering from Ghana, Ghana cannot stand on its feet. So that is one thing, other thing that I would try to use tradition to address. Because as we were growing up, we were all told that for you to steal, it's not nice when you say it in English. For you to take money that is not yours,
right,
let the money get embarrassed.
Right.
Let me put it that way. I think you understand it better.
It is not only illegal, but it is immoral
and
unethical.
Totally immoral and unethical. So, and the traditional thing can sometimes reinforce our behavior and our behavioral patterns to such an extent that there are certain things that we would just not do if we just put ourselves into a traditional setting. So that's one thing that I think we should look at. The second thing, Shaka, is the fact that if we look at our countries, and we try to let the young people in the countries become very nationalistic, where as American kids they will sing their national anthem, they will say their national pledge, we do the same and feel an affinity to our country, so that there are certain things we will just not do because of upbringing and loving our country. Now the third thing that I think I would personally do is to make sure that law enforcement agencies, be it the police, be it the immigration, be it the military, whatever, understand these norms. And we as individuals should keep politics away from them. Partisan politics, because it's good when every human being in Ghana understands the political issues. It's very good. Understands. But not partisan.
Yes.
So that they can do their work without fear.
To put their country above everything.
To put the country above everything else. These are the three things I think I will look at. Bring you greetings from the executives and the members of the National Democratic Party. It is truly a pleasure to address you all today, many of whom I think I have interacted in the course of my developmental work. But today I do so in a very unique and historical capacity. Excuse me. As the first female presidential candidate ever to address the IEA, I want to say a big thank you for this opportunity to express my views here. Thank you. Originally, I was supposed to come and speak for 45 minutes, and it's been cut to 25 minutes. So I'm going to really just rush through, leave a lot of things, and maybe in the question and answer time, I'll be able to deal with them. The economic and social upheavals we are witnessing in some nations across the world must awaken that sense of urgency in all of us. We as Ghanaians cannot take our future for granted and assume that it shall be well, even as we live the reality of it is not well. You and I, all of us, are the stakeholders of Ghana, and therefore it is our sole responsibility to ensure that our nation has in place the most effective constitution that guides our leadership and the most effective policies and strategies that make us a prosperous nation. It is within our power as citizens of Ghana to ensure that Ghana is on a clear, visionary path. It is not enough to hope or pray that things will get better. It is not enough. Excuse me. Let me take that again. It is not enough to hope and pray that things will get better, when the stark reality indicates that our nation is on the wrong path. That is why I am running for president, to put Ghana on the right track again. I am the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Party, and we believe in laying the foundation of a prosperous future for Ghana, so that all Ghanaians can have the confidence in a country built on a system that rewards hard work and sacrifice. The NDP believes in creating a Ghana where mothers and fathers have the opportunity to invest in the future of their children, where Ghanaian genius is rewarded and where meritocracy is paramount. We believe in a thriving economy that creates equal opportunity for every Ghanaian, regardless of ethnic group, regardless of financial group and status, regardless of gender and age. As a fellow citizen and a stakeholder in Ghana, as a wife, as a mother, and definitely as a voter, I refuse to sit back and say things will get better, particularly as we all can see things are not getting any better. In fact, things are getting worse for us as a nation. I will not sit back and do nothing while the gap between the rich and the poor grows wider. We are all witnesses to the deplorable growth of slums in Ghana. We all watch with frustration as societal indiscipline creeps into every facet of our lives. Although the government security budget has increased, we are witness to decreasing law and order, with a corresponding increase of arbitrariness and impunity. Our health system is really not a system because it is not working. There isn't a single family as in an extended family, there isn't a single family in our extended family system, regardless of financial status, that has not lost a family member to an illness or disease that could have been treated if timely. Sorry, thank you. If timely, sorry, I've lost my. If timely proper care had been administered, our healthcare professionals are frustrated due to their inability to help save their patients. As a result of ill-equipped hospitals and a bureaucracy that stifles their dedication. Ghana has a lot of competent people. We have a lot of competent professionals. In every sector, you will find them there. And these are all being excluded from contributing to effective nation building. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to create a system that supports and rewards our dedicated healthcare servicemen and women, while weeding out those who are guilty of medical malpractice. How can a nation that prides itself on peace and stability have its foundations shaken by outbreaks of cholera and typhoid, diseases easily avoidable if our health and sanitation systems worked effectively? Thank you.
Hey, what did done back? If he said, Get it?
5 years.
5.
I used to muster the courage
After I'd left the school and come back.
That's when she finally.
One Saturday, you know, with a gang of friends, when we went to their house, and I sent for her. I didn't think she would come, and she did.
Aww.
And I saw her. She had mellowed. You know, she used to be a little too hostile towards me.
It was all
As
love.
we all should be.
Yeah. It's all love.
So it's meant.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're
you're right.
interested, but
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
hard to
You
get.
pretend.
I'd be showing interest in her lineup of friends just so I could walk alongside them. I'm telling you.
Sweet.
My bro.
How you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. Tell me, how you gonna do it if you really don't wanna dance? By standing on the wall. Get your back up on the wall. I heard all the people saying, get down on it. Come on and get down on it. If you really want it, get down on it. You gotta feel it. Get down on it. Get down on it.
Radio to explain a personal matter between, say, your daughter and a boyfriend. Do you realize that that did quite a bit of damage to that party? When you, till today, everybody likes to talk about the so-called identification haircuts. Can you see that link? And would you have done things differently? That's my question.
David Ampofu, let me tell you this. Whether I'm a first lady or I'm an ordinary citizen in this country, I will go in defense of my children any day when I know they're doing the right thing. I will never follow a child if the child is doing the wrong thing. I will deal with that child. But when that
Why
child
on radio?
Because that's where they were actually dealing with her.
But is it not almost petty to descend to that level?
Because don't call it petty. It is. I don't know, maybe if you have your children at a certain age and this is going on, you can call it petty. But for me, it wasn't petty. It was destroying a child who was growing up properly, destroying that child totally. And I honestly don't want to go into this again.
Do you think your radio appearance helped that?
I don't want to go into this again.
I'm finalizing it, but do you think your radio appearance...
I'm not even going to comment on this again.
Because there are people that say that it's almost...
David, I won't comment on it again. Mr. Ampofu, it's finished. Because if I go into it again, we'll have the whole hula baloo starting again. I've heard it again on the radios. I've decided I won't comment. Because for me, I have checked my daughter, and I'm happy with what's going on. I don't want to comment on this matter anymore. I honestly don't.
How's your husband?
He's well. Keeping body and soul together.
Once in a while they complain that he's not being treated well. Is that correct? Is that a fair criticism?
Well, it depends on what you mean by he's not treated correctly.
No, I'm saying you say that. We hear that perhaps some money is due him, have not been paid and so on. I'm saying, what is your own view of the way this government is treating your husband?
David, I don't know if you've looked at the Constitution itself. If you've looked at what the Constitution says, you'll know what should be done and what is
They've said
done.
They will. I've saw it in the papers, in the work here.
Well,
but what is your view? What is your view?
They've written it in the papers a number of times.
Is he happy?
I don't think that you should, ask me things
about
like
him.
that. When you meet him, you can ask him these questions. But I'd like to say that, in all the things that are supposed to be done, that are not being done, a number of occasions, have come up where
Oh, okay. All right.
Amazon. The video I gave you for Amazon.
All
right, stand by.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. The show is also live on
94.1 FM. For those of you who can't watch us on TV, you have an alternative, which is 94.1 FM. Please tune into that radio station and follow the conversation here. Now, you do know that on Good Morning Ghana, the conversations here are intellectually stimulating. It's riveting. It's interesting, and it's also forward-looking, and that's why you tune into your favorite Good Morning Ghana show. So joining us this morning, it's Paul Adomotri. He's a host of Good Evening Ghana, a seasoned journalist, and also a former board chair, Ghana Airport Company Limited. He's with us this morning. And Chief, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mauro. Good morning.
It's always good to see you.
It's not a very good morning relating to what happened yesterday, but we're on it.
Right. So, but first of all, how are you doing personally?
I'm good.
And how's the family?
Everyone is good.
How's your book doing? I've been wanting to ask you this. I mean, let me look at the front page again. I wanted to ask how this book, you launched it last year, didn't you?
Yes.
Africa's New Constitutional Leadership, 77 Stories That Defined Ghana's Fourth Republic, told by Paul Adomotri.
The 77 stories that defined Ghana's Fourth Republic, yeah.
But why did you author this book anyway? I mean, what's your motivation for doing this?
Well, I've been doing Good Evening Ghana and covering political stories for a long time. I thought that some of the stories that time does not permit us to sort of show on television or in our news reports, and more importantly, the backstories to the main story should be documented. And I've been calling on important people in Ghana and political people to document their stories. And I didn't want the case to be that posterity will come and ask me, did you document your stories? So this is really the first in the series of a few books that we intend to put out. And together with my team at Good Evening Ghana, I told them what we wanted to do, and everyone played a role in putting these stories together. So these are stories from the 1992 Fourth Republic. Every significant story that has happened in the 1992 from the 1992 Fourth Republic until now is being captured. Well, the story ends before the 2024 election, so that's not covered. Hopefully we'll put up another book about the 2024 election. And then it's about the stories of the events that occurred and also about the personalities that played a role in these events. Some of these personalities often may not come on the news because they are not minister or they are not chief of staff or they are not president or vice, but the roles that they play for us news reporters who were working behind the scenes, we've captured some of these. So if you look at the contents, it's captured in dates. On 25th June 1996, this happened. And relating to Mrs. Rawlings, there are two important stories that are shared in the book that many people don't know about. And I'll be happy to share with people, even on this program, a snapshot of what we said about Mrs. Rawlings in story 11 and story 54. We say 77 stories, but the stories actually are more than 100 because we started with a caption of 77 stories because it sounds nicer. And we were hoping that we'll get to 77. When we finished, we had crossed. The book is 150,000 words. And I'm delighted that young people helped me to put it together. So it's on sale at the University of Ghana Bookshop and at the Vidya Bookshop in Accra, University of Ghana Bookshop in Accra, and KNUST Bookshop in Kumasi. We'll be doing some sub-launches around university campuses and for students of law and politics. Also, the most important, on the legal side, the most important constitutional law cases that have defined the Fourth Republic have been briefed in the book, beginning with the Radio Eye case and then going on to 31st December case, going on to the NPP versus the IGP, which is the case that allows people to demonstrate. And then it goes on to the NPP versus GBC, which talks about the impartiality of the state broadcaster. We go all the way to the election petitions. Both election petitions have been fully briefed in the book, including the backstories of a news reporter covering the election petitions, one of 2013 and the election petitions 2. The famous, or to some people, infamous cases of the fast-track high courts relating to Chachu Chikata have also been sufficiently briefed, the cases of Dr. Richard Anane, etc. And then on the media side, the establishment of radio stations, Joy FM, Radio Gold, City FM, of which I was a big part of, and the work of Radio Universe during the political season and all of that. A whole lot have been briefed. And then when we finish, we have selected some 11 or so themes, and we have analyzed those themes in terms of who is the most impactful politician, who is the best speaker, and which chief justice did what, and all of that. So yes, we think that it's a comprehensive account of everything that has happened in the Fourth Republic, and we are happy to gets people to buy it. At the University of Ghana bookshop, it's selling for only 200 cedis. On the campuses, it's selling for 200 cedis. And in town, it's selling for 400 cedis.
But so far, how's the public been receiving this since you launched it?
But we launched it in the heat of the election, so a few people got it. Now we've gotten the new print, appointed time. Our printers have just delivered to us a new set of prints. That's why we are talking about it again. We are going to be distributing to key political actors, members of parliament, the committees of parliament, the parliamentary library, and all that. I have one copy for Felix Kwakye Ofosu, the government communication minister, and perhaps we'll give him a few more copies because of his outfit, and then we'll see how it goes. So we are still on the launch, as it were.
Okay. All right.
I can tell you the stories about Mrs.
This is the first.
Yeah, this is our first book. Yes.
The first book.
Yeah.
So far, you've authored only one book.
Yes, this is the first and only.
First and only.
Yeah.
You intend to author more?
Oh, yes, certainly. I mean, we have to write this. There are sub-stories we can pick out of. One of them we want to do is to deal with the president. So we take Rawlings as an individual, and then we deal with him in detail about his presidency, what happened, what didn't happen. Fortunately, I have been at the center of covering a lot of these stories. I had personal conversations with Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, often with another person there. Either it was Victor Smith or it was Tony Edu. And I'm going to talk to Tony Edu about some of them and get their permission to report this in the book about Rawlings. We will deal with John Agyekum Kufuor as the next president. Again, I had very personal experiences in there, some of which I share on Good Evening Ghana every now and then. And indeed, some of the viewers of Good Evening Ghana who have often called me and said that the stories that you tell, you have to put it in a book. In 2022, 2021, 2023, people were telling me that all of these political stories you tell on Good Evening Ghana, you really need to put it in the book for posterity's sake. Last week, I told a story about my experience with Bafo Sakoto in President Kufuor's home on a Saturday morning, and I saw a photograph online, and I suspected that photograph was taken on that event when President Kufuor introduced me to Bafo Sakoto, whom I had read about. I didn't even know he was still alive. At that time, it was mid-90s, and so some of those stories about President Kufuor's presidency will be captured. And then, of course, there was Professor Mills. Again, I have some personal experiences in there with the Professor Mills experience, the passing of Mills. The day of the passing of Mills is well captured in this book, what happened, where I was, when I was told, etc. And then, of course, there was President Mahama. And in the 2 interviews I conducted with him, I've been quite lucky as a journalist because the record will show that I was the first journalist to have interviewed a sitting Ghanaian president in the person of John Dramani Mahama sometime around 2013. And John Mahama was the first Ghanaian president also to give a sitting interview to a Ghanaian journalist. He gave me the first one, and he indeed gave me the second one. Sometime in 2016, again, he gave me an interview just before the elections, and then he did other interviews. All of those are captured, the circumstances of the interview, how it was arranged. So you see the names of Felix Kwakye Ofosu, Mane Boama, and others, all of that in the process towards the interview. So we can deal with President John Mahama in his first appearance as president. And then comes Akufo-Addo's 8 years, we can deal with that as well. So I'm looking to do a book on the presidents of Ghana and the impacts they have made, the shortfalls, the difficulties, the negatives, and all of that. That probably is going to be the next book. And then I think the role of the Supreme Court in shaping the democracy that we have had. A bit of it is captured here, but we need to then go and do some detailed assessment of Chief Justice after Chief Justice and during their tenure, what really happened in Ghana. So yes, we have quite a bit to do. If we have life and we have health, we'll be able to put out a lot for posterity.
It's instructive that we're talking about this book at a time when the former First Lady has passed on, sadly, at 76. The news broke yesterday, was all over on social media. And so basically Ghana is mourning, and perhaps the world is mourning, Africa is mourning. And in your book, there's a portion that talks about your own experience with her. Share that with us.
Well, so yesterday we put out on television in Story 11. So as I said, a 77 story. So if you open the book and you go to Story 11, you see a very interesting conversation about Mrs. Rawlings. It happened on one weekday afternoon, few weeks to the election of 1996. And at that time, I was not a reporter, but I came to hear the story and from the important people. So the NDC PR campaign was being led by, it would appear that was being led by Tutubi Kwachi, who was Minister for Information. And then there was Vincent Asise, who was a high-profile official of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, who was a key member of the NDC. and the group, what turned out to be the reform group, Guzi Tano and Cheche Opoku and Peter Podu, but they were all involved in putting the NDC communication together. This was the first election that the NDC was really picking up a real fight. J. Kufuor had been elected by the NPP, and it looked like he was creating some formidability. The campaign, at the time that this story occurs, the NPP seemed to have been leading the campaign. You know, when there's a political campaign, pendulum swings week after week, depending on what happens. Maybe there's a scandal, the government goes down. Maybe there's a nice, great song that is put up by one party, and it sort of catches. Today we say it trends, it's trending. There was a song by the NPP which was occasioned by Christine Churcher. She used to be a minister. And the song was in Akan, and it said, Shawa sitinem to Abapa. And they created a song, Shawa sitinem to Abapa, and it was rhyming on radio. Mrs. Rawlings, according to the story, had come from work, still working on the campaign, and one of her daughters was singing the song. So she heard that, why is my daughter singing an NPP song? She did not berate the child, but she told herself that there's a problem with the communication. And when she asked the child, according to the story, that what song are you singing, the child didn't quite own up. So she felt that the child knew that this is a song that I shouldn't be singing, and that mommy has caught me singing the wrong song. So she interpreted that, and rightly so, as a communication problem. So she immediately called a meeting in her house at Ridge for all the communication people to come to tell them this story and tell them that, look, we need to up our communication because it looks like the opposition songs are nicer or getting better than ours. Ambassador Spielgabra had his first episode with the core NDC people, and I report that in the book in 1992. J.J. Rawlings, the president, had been so impressed by Spielgabra's work at the African Development Bank that he had invited him into Ghana to become a minister in the first government of 92. Some important people in NDC did not want Spielgabra to be part of the government. They leaked the information to an independent parliamentary candidate in the name of the person of Hawa Yakubu. And during the appointment committee hearings, Hawa Yakubu asked a critical question that ended up in the disqualification of Ambassador Spielgabra. Hawa Yakubu asked him whether he was a registered voter. Spiel was not a registered voter. The circumstances was that he was out of the country. He was working in Cote d'Ivoire for the African Development Bank. It was going to be very difficult for him to have registered. So, but being a registered voter was an essential qualification to be a minister. So when the question came and Spiel answered the question in a negative, it meant that he had been disqualified from being a minister, and his opponents in the NDC had succeeded. Rawlings still wanted to keep Spielgabra around somehow, so he sent him to be ambassador in the United States. Whilst ambassador in the United States, Spielgabra appeared to have achieved a major feat by delivering the first official visit of an American president to Ghana. Albeit for a few hours, William Jefferson Clinton visited Ghana at the Independence Square. It was a huge, big event, and it was a big feather in the cap and an impetus towards the 1996 campaign for Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. It appeared that the military junta had now been accepted by the world. J.J. Rawlings, who was a coup leader who people didn't like, now having won elections, appeared to have received the most important democratic endorsement from the President of the United States of America, who had visited with his wife, Hillary Clinton, to Ghana. That was major, and it was achieved by Spielgabra. Spielgabra then had worked himself up into the best part of the heart of Rawlings and Mrs. Rawlings, and he was a great communicator, and it appeared that Mrs. Rawlings wanted him to be part of the communication, not just to be part, but actually to lead it. So this afternoon's meeting, the meeting in the afternoon, which is reported in our book, Mrs. Rawlings told the story to everyone and said, look, this is getting problematic. And therefore, she was recommending for changes to be made to the NDC communication apparatus. She wanted Spielgabra to lead the NDC communication towards the 1996 election. This didn't go down well with many of them. And another meeting was held after Mrs. Rawlings' meeting, where it is reported that the information minister, the Honorable Toto Bikwachi, directed everyone to continue to do what they were doing, and basically to ignore the Spielgabra leadership. However, Spielgabra became the main face of the campaign on television and radio, and Spielgabra's agenda was to demonstrate that the so-called MPP propaganda that the NDC didn't have the men was wrong, and that he could challenge any MPP professor or whoever they had to any of the facts and issues and any of the matters that concern government. He did quite a creditable job, and he became a thorn in the flesh of the MPP. Together with Tony Edu and others, they marshaled the campaign, and they won. They were elected in 1996. The question we ask in the book is whether the 1996 victory was achieved by the Spielgabra injection into the PR campaign, or it was achieved by the work that was being done, which they continued to do. The jury is out on that. I'm not sure what the answer is, but that's captured in story 11 of our book. The other story that we capture in story 54 is something that people may be able to relate to because it's recent. When Mills became president, the atmosphere of Rawlings's relationship with him was quite public. Everyone knew that there were difficulties between Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and Professor Mills. It arose a bit out of Rawlings feeling that some people had encircled Mills and were not allowing him to help the new president and to coach him. No, this is actually yours. I've photographed for you. This is for one of your staff. I'll give this to you as well. So sorry, I was just giving the book to the government minister. So Mrs. Rawlings then decided that against all odds, she was going to stick in a claim for the NDC leadership, something that had never happened, that the sitting president is being challenged. The concerns were that Flight Lieutenant Rawlings should perhaps stop her from running because Mr. Rawlings benefited from a situation where nobody challenged him for the 1996 nomination, and so that culture, that convention should remain. The part of it that was very difficult to report because it was not a nice situation was the return of nomination forms for Professor Mills at the NDC headquarters at that time in the Paloma area, the old NDC headquarters. I mean, the kinds of things that happened there was quite interesting. The Mills campaign team, again, marshaled by Totobi Kwachi and others, lined up most of the important allies of Mrs. Rawlings in the past. Cecilia Johnson, Betty Moldidrisu, most of the important women that you would have said that Mrs. Rawlings had groomed. They came onto the platform to endorse Professor Mills. They did not have very kind words for Madame Rawlings. And it was a very difficult situation. Everyone knew that Mrs. Rawlings was not going to win the contest. But the manner in which that day's event of the return of Professor Mills' campaign was done left a sour taste in the mouth of many people, even some of the NDC admirers. Okay. So that story is also captured. All right. I'd like to say something again about prosecutions because we're talking about that relating to Mrs. Rawlings.
Hold on.
Yeah,
just a second. Okay. You know, there's something in strategic marketing. I mean, you tease people and ask them to go and get the rest. So yeah, I like how you've just when you've
the next one is not in the book.
We'll get there. So it's about your encounter with Rawlings, as captured in the book.
My encounter with J.J. Rawlings.
No, your encounter with Kunedu.
That's what I reported. Story 11 and story 54.
So those who want to find out more,
yes,
should get the book. That's what
they should. There's only 200 CDs. Felix can buy it for some students.
Well, you just gave him one.
No, he buy it for students. He should buy it for students.
Oh, for students. Okay.
So that he will give us the money and tell us which students to supply it to.
Okay. All right. So yes, he's the minister in charge of government communication, also the spokesperson for the president, Felix Kwachu-Fosu. Good morning.
Good morning, Moro.
Good to see you.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to be here. Unfortunately, I was unable to come last weekend due to some prior commitments.
Right.
I'm happy to be back, except that it's on an inauspicious note with the sudden demise of Her Excellency Mrs. Agyemang Rawlings yesterday after a brief illness in the morning. Let me disclose that His Excellency the President has directed that 3 days of national mourning be declared, and that all flags fly at half-mast within those 3 days of national mourning. So an official statement should go out presently to confirm it. It is a deep and regrettable loss. Mrs. Rawlings is far and away perhaps the most prominent, the most visible First Lady we've had. I mean, those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, she was a staple on national television. I mean, with her distinct Afrocentric looks and her efforts to deepen women empowerment. Up until the time, women had been playing second fiddle to men in national politics. I think she took on the mantle in a way that challenged the male hegemony and ensured that more women came to the fore. Through her grassroots mobilization, through the vehicle of the 31st December Women's Movement, a lot was done to ensure that the space was opened up for the marginalized women and children particularly. The daycare centers that she opened, I mean, opened up education opportunities for many vulnerable groups who otherwise would have been left behind. in the national development agenda. As I walked in, I heard Paul recount some of her more memorable moments. Her spirited challenge of President Mills in the primaries of the NDC towards the 2012 elections will go down in history. I mean, those were heady days. Of course, there were many of us were on the side of President Mills because we thought that it was only proper that a president who was doing so well be allowed to continue, so that we do not necessarily stir the hornet's nest. But that she was bold enough to stand up and mount a challenge is to her credit. If I'm not mistaken, she would be about the only woman to have mounted such a challenge to a certain president. She would be about the only woman who has staked a claim to the leadership of a major political party. It shows you the kind of stuff that she was made of. So it is little wonder that many people are sad over her demise and will remember her fondly for her contributions towards governance in general. I mean, she worked hand in glove with her late husband, President Rawlings. And in spite of that, she also carved her own niche, that she built her own personality, which was quite distinct from her husband's personality and outlook. And I think that she will be remembered for all the right reasons. And it is interesting that Paul has written about some of the encounters with her. I mean, it's to be encouraged for those who may not remember her in the way that some of us do. It will serve as a useful reference point for them to appreciate exactly what she stood for and what it is that she contributed to our body politic. I'll go through Paul's book. I hope that there are no inaccuracies, though. Otherwise, I will be compelled to set the record straight. But the very idea of documenting these things is important. We simply do not write enough in Ghana. We don't write enough in Ghana. And I think that any effort to document our experiences over the years is to be encouraged. And therefore, it's a step in the right direction.
The family was at the presidency yesterday, right?
It's true.
How did he go?
But it was in the morning and early afternoon, there were rumors all over the place. Those of us in government could not afford to join that bandwagon. It was imperative that we received accurate information and received confirmation. It was also important that the family be consulted in any effort to bring the development to the attention of the people of Ghana. So it was after the meeting with the family that the president authorized the release of the statement. That is the proper thing to do. We needed to respect the sensibilities of the family. So yes, that meeting was held. It was to formally inform the president. The president had been following the development since news broke of a sudden illness and was in touch with the family at all times to, first of all, ensure that the best possible treatment was given to her, and every effort was made to salvage the situation. When the unfortunate happened, it was necessary to engage with the family, consult with the family, as tradition requires. And after that happened, then it was necessary to put an end to the speculation and issue a formal government statement, which we did. The intent was just to bring to the attention that this had happened and express our condolences to the immediate family. So it will be followed up this morning by the statement that I alluded to, announcing the 3 days of national mourning and the flying at half-mast of flags. Subsequently, other announcements will be put out in relation to funeral arrangements and other things that need to be done to send her off in a way that is befitting of a stateswoman and a woman who has made such tremendous contributions to national development. Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's public knowledge that the Queen Ajima-Rawlings, never mind the fact that she was a key actor in the formation of the NDC, of which you are a key member, had some kind of frosty relationship developed between her and her mother party, which is the NDC, culminating into the formation of the NDP. She attempted to stand for elections. We all know what happened. Now, there were some persons who were of the view that the leadership of your party should be extending some kind of an olive branch to her to try and bring her back into the party, because she just wasn't just a human being. She was almost like a part of the soul of the NDC. But the others who also thought that, look, once she's gone, let her be. You know, you can't force somebody to do what they don't want to do. You know, so that debate had been going on for a very long time. Now, in the most recent times, we had her daughter, Zanato, at one of the 31st December Women's Movement, one of the 31st December, how do you call it, celebrations or commemorations, where, I don't know whether it was June 4th or 31st, I think it was June 4th, where she made a clarion call on the leadership of the NDC to, you know, welcome her mother back into the party. And that in itself generated its own, you know, conversations out there. Now, I don't know what you know about her relationship with the current president, you know, prior to her demise. What can you share with us? I mean, were they in touch occasionally? Were they okay? I mean, how was the relationship like?
Well, as far as I know, it was a cordial relationship. Mrs. Rawlings was a vastly experienced political actor, and therefore she knew how to separate, if you like, disagreements based on principle from personal relations. So whatever disagreements existed between her and the NDC did not extend to personal relations, that I know. Number two, those disagreements with the NDC for me are immaterial in terms of what she stands for and what she represents in Ghanaian politics. As humans, it is impossible not to have disagreements at certain points. It is also possible, actually, to have disagreements and still hold respect for each other. So we respect her highly for her contributions to the formation of the NDC, the instrumental role she played in mobilizing women around the cause of the NDC. I don't think that there's anybody in our history who has been able to achieve what she achieved in terms of mobilizing women. At a point, the 31st December Women's Movement was controlling in excess of 2 million members. And that was a huge force that brought significant votes to the NDC. And that cannot be discounted. That, at some point, she thought that she needed to part ways with the NDC does not blur that historical fact. And so, in the analysis of what she stood for, I do not think that disagreement should count. Of course, it's a historical anecdote. It will go down on record. You can't do anything about it, but that is a fact. But even that also spoke to her versatility, her ability to chart new waters, her ability to try new things. That in itself cannot be bad. Forming another political party out of an existing political party is not something we've not heard before. Indeed, the biggest defector in Ghanaian political history is Kwame Nkrumah himself. The likes of Victor Wusu and Co came from the CPP. Akwaje and Co also left the UGCC and joined the CPP or what have you. So these things happen. It does not take away the greatness, or it doesn't whittle away the impact that these people made. So I think that we should have a balanced assessment of what it is that has happened. As for efforts to reintegrate her into the NDC, it was all well and good if there were those who thought that after the rift that had occurred in the aftermath of the challenge that she mounted to President Mills, there was a need to bring her back. It was all well and good. I don't think that, in principle, it is something that needed to be opposed. Politics, they say, is a game of numbers. And to have such a strong woman come back into the fold would have been near to the benefits of the NDC. If she thought otherwise, she was well entitled to her views. But for me, the very idea that she contributed to the formation of the NDC will stand in her name eternally, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But I'm sure that the jury will be out there, but overall, the verdict about her will be positive. The verdict about her will be positive, and there's nothing that can be done to tarnish her image. There's nothing that can be done to understate the impact that she had on Ghanaian politics. I don't think that there's been a woman in our politics in all the decades that we've been around who had the sort of impact that she had. She towered above many others who contended with her in her day. Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. In fact, the death of Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings wasn't the only development that happened yesterday. We also saw the swearing of some 37 new judges, and it appears that there's a particular judge who's swearing in has caused some uproar in some sections of the media and some sections of the public. And I'm happy that you're here because you speak for the president too. I mean, the president doesn't necessarily appoint these judges; it's done by the Judicial Council. But it will be good to hear your view on this matter. So please stay with us. This is Good Morning Ghana. Keep watching.
stay the right way, filled with confidence to take on any challenge. Pepsodent Kids contains the right amount of fluoride and sugar acid protection to care for their developing gums and teeth. Grab either orange or strawberry so they brush with the sweet flavor they love morning and evening. Pepsodent Kids, giving your children a bright smile for a brighter future.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Ama, nansi mi jeno wo bin enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basi makura. Ama me kunu ni me into kwankwa. Oh you right. Enye mo ko. Give us GC lecture. And then the capsules are your num boom and want some na more kana. A boy and ma and a memina. Nema ba ye obesima. Na bear must why ye bear messima. Ya, we the boy, I'm a neck giant and sour the shelly bottom. No, when you yan and into sessing you all you chop one. GC mixture and then a capsule. Achesa.
A pin for a batter, one more menu for one and Quada when you feel do me.
Achesa. Wabed doom, time asun. Hey, J. Watch it, na learning. Missy, watch and learn. Makwaya Mabesisia. A bozig. I can say no ya konati and the more drink woman. Hey. But I didn't mean. Oh, sorry. She knew her old dish. Eddie, Dabio, baby womb. Ready? Hey, baby womb. Ah, Eddie. I'll cause some discomfort. Ah. Sorry, well, uncle, where would I die? Why your funeral? At your phone for Aerofield Trading. Sorry, it killed them all.
No mum share Nanda Daya was mosquito call Esudu Womunumu. Na say spray with them musa. Chaisima edronum and sana ko dynamo.
And Kratoi FDA Ajatum.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
The second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again? Now I understand the whole delay. Trot from Kaswa. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late, of course.
Star 712 hash, star 712 hash. Yeah, you go be the luckiest. Copy from Georgia be luckiest. From not the cause she be luckiest. Me and you go be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go be that luckiest.
That's Kwamio.
Send your God up boom. If you put it to here, so would the coming of the Son of Man be. Is that his car?
Dial star 712 hash. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompt and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
Victory, celebration, legacy. It's 40 years of Jesus is our victory. Join Victory Bible Church International for the Wonderful Jesus Conference 2025. A power-packed celebration marking 40 glorious years of God's faith and God's grace. It all begins on Saturday, 12th October with the Mega Praise and Worship Night, a night of pure gratitude and praise. Then get ready for the Wonder Walk on October 25th, a citywide walk of testimony and victory. From October 27th to the 30th of October, the Wonderful Jesus Conference continues live at the VBCI Dominion Sanctuary, Awoshi Junction. Expect nothing but divine encounters, miracles, and transformation. On October 31st, meet us at the Independence Square for a nationwide gathering of worship, power, and the Word. Then on November 1st, join the outreach program at Mancho Agbona. Then let's touch lives and share the love of Jesus Christ. And finally, the grand service at the Independence Square on November 2nd. Come and witness the glory of 40 years of victory. Ministering are Bishop N.A. Takiyaboy, Bishop Clement Amankwa Isehine, Bishop Elijah Saforo, and Bishop Emmanuel Akon. Wonderful Jesus Conference 2025. 40 years of grace, power, and impact. From the 12th of October to the 2nd of November. Victory Bible Church International invites you to celebrate Jesus because Jesus is our victory.
You're still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro, and I'm here with Paula Domotri, host of Good Evening Ghana, and also Felix Kwachofosu, who is the Minister of State in charge of Government Communication and also Presidential Spokesperson. Now, before we move on to our next topic, let me just bring this to your attention. It's a very important piece of information, an announcement from Ghana's Central Bank. So I'm talking about the Bank of Ghana. Now, it's about the CD at 60, that's what I should be saying, CD at 60. Now, this year, the Bank of Ghana is celebrating 60 years of Ghana's very own CD, a journey that began in 1965 from market stalls to mobile apps, from notes to digital wallets. The CD has been part of every milestone and every dream. Now, 60 years of the value, pride, and innovation rooted in history, alive in every transaction, ready for the future. Our CD, our heritage, the CD, our identity, the CD, our symbol of sovereignty, the CD, our national pride. Now, the official launch is Tuesday. I'm talking about this Tuesday, October 28, 2025, at the Accra International Conference Center. Is at 9 a.m. The special guest of honor is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So be there, let's celebrate the CD, our own CD. And yours truly, Metro TV will be there, will bring you a live coverage of this auspicious event, a very important event as well. We're talking about the CD at 60. And what essentially is going to happen is that Good Morning Ghana is going to broadcast live from the Accra International Conference Center from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And we have put together an array of very distinguished and able financial and banking consultants and experts who would be weighing in on this very important subject matter about the journey of the city, which has come very, very far. 60. You don't want to miss the conversation and indeed the entire program or the event. And as you can see, what we put up on your screen, it's an official launch of CD at 60 at the Accra International Conference Center. It's on Tuesday, 28th October 2025. It starts at 9 a.m. With the official launch. And so the theme, as you've seen, it says 40 years of the CD, a symbol of sovereignty, stability, and economic resilience. And once again, let me say that the special guest of honor is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who's the President of the Republic of Ghana. So I did indicate before we took that little breather that, Felix, I don't know whether you think that there's an issue there or not, but some persons don't seem to be happy about the fact that a circuit court judge, so Samuel Brightakwa judge, has been sworn in by the president as part of the 37 judges who were sworn in yesterday at the presidency. They're asking why. This is the same judge who was involved in the Abronye, that's the Bono regional chairman of the NPP's case. And we heard the kinds of things he said and the public backlash that greeted the comments that he made. And so some Ghanaians are asking, for somebody who had actually been suspended, we're told indefinitely, what was the thinking? Why has it been sworn in? You know, there's some conversation happening. I don't know what you make of this.
Well, in my view, the matters at hand are not fatal and should not affect his progression to the extent that he meets the specific requirements for that particular office. He will not be the first judge whose judgments or rulings have become the subject of public discourse or even vigorous disagreement from sections of the public. It happens all the time. Even Supreme Court rulings are subjected to intense scrutiny. Sometimes the rulings are torn apart by legal experts and other commentators. That in itself should not stymie anybody's progression. Once issues of moral turpitude or ethical breaches cannot be established against the individual in question, I don't see how that should become a problem. He can only learn from it and improve his performance as a judge. So in my view, he's well qualified. He's within his rights to ascend in the judiciary, and I believe that is what has accounted for his elevation. Yes.
You're one of those who was very critical of the statements that he made. I mean, and he went to the extent of saying that we're all equal before the law. So you thought those comments were...
Yes, of course. The point I'm making is that he's not the first judge that I've criticized. I've criticized the rulings of Supreme Court judges, right, Appeals Court judges, High Court judges. So really, that I disagreed with that particular statement that he made. There's no reason why he cannot continue to be a judge. I'm sure that you will struggle to find a judge whose judgment has not come under scrutiny and whose rulings have not been subjected to criticism by legal experts or other commentators. So that in itself for me cannot become a hindrance. If it were the case that he was being accused of, say, bribery or some political bias or other forms of wrongdoing, then there may be an issue. But that you disagree with a position he has taken on a particular matter, for me, it doesn't form sufficient basis to deny him progression in his profession. That is my view. Yeah.
He's retired, hasn't he?
Well, I would have to.
Yes, he retired. He retired on the 16th.
Yeah, but if he qualifies, if there's a legal basis,
okay,
there's lawful basis for appointing him, there should not be a difficulty, in my view.
Oh, yeah. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that the circumstances of his retiring after the Abronye case, which is he's a circuit court judge, and they retired at the age of 60. By the time he was delivering the Abronye judgment, he was nearly 60. The way the Ghana Bar Association members of the bar, both on the NDC and MPP side, berated the judgment, his reference to the quotation an unworthy quotation by Idi Amin, albeit he references to Robert Mugabe, sent the nation back and sent the development of democracy back many, many years. And initially when the judgment came out, it appeared that MPP, politically exposed lawyers to the MPP were those who were upset with it. And then came people, civil society actors like Oliver Vomaho, who felt that the judgment was not just bad, but such a person should never be on the bench in a democracy. And then Hamza Suhini, who is a member of the NDC legal team, speaking at the forum where Afenyo Makin was present, went very far and thought that when he heard the judgment, he was completely shocked that Ghana can still have such judges who are making these kinds of ruling. It was very bizarre and an embarrassment to all of us, to the public and to the judiciary in particular, and it should be an embarrassment to very senior judges. It appeared that people were satisfied that, oh, after all, the guy is gone, he's retired, and okay, it's fine. He's retired as a Court of Appeal judge at age 60, let him go. And then that's ended the matter. The judges swearing in, I hear, was postponed or something like that until yesterday.
Was suspended indefinitely.
Was suspended indefinitely, and then yesterday it came back. Now, when the suspension of indefinite suspension was published, everyone thought that, oh, it is because this judge was originally part of it before the Abronya case, and that's why he's been suspended indefinitely, so that they'll take him out. And in any case, he has retired. But then eyebrows were raised when it turned out that he had actually his name remained on the list, and that he's been elevated to the High Court, where they retire at 65, and so he's less than 65, and so by age he's qualified. Many people felt that the discretion that is given to political authority must be looked at, not just in partisan lines, but must be looked at critically. This is building one of the biggest institutions and one of the most important, I should say, the most non-partisan institution in terms of the three arms of government. The executive is partisan, they are elected. The legislature is partisan, they are elected. The judiciary, in some countries, judiciary are elected. In Ghana, we decided that the judiciary should be that pillar that holds the two and holds the balance. And so everyone gets worried when you have judges who appear to have a political lens. In the days of Akufo-Addo, this case of unanimous FC came up, and no less a person than the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, who used to work for Akufo-Addo in the Akufo-Addo's cabinet, even expressed concern that while he thinks that these judgments may not be wrong, the fact that when the cases go and they have a political twist is always 7-0 is discomforting. He doesn't want his government to lose the case in court, but he was discomforted by what people call unanimous FC. And so you see that the Ghanaian person wants the judiciary to remain as that bulwark of democracy, where the partisan considerations are reduced to the barest minimum. Here is a judge who has demonstrated that apart from partisan considerations, he also can get personal sometimes. In this Abronya case, saying to the accused person that people are more equal than others. I mean, that kind of statement should never be made by a judge to an accused person. And a judge who makes this statement goes on retirement, he's called back from retirement and elevated to now become a member of the Superior Court of Judicature. That is a worrying signal, a particularly worrying signal. And I don't know how many people advised President Mahama to do this. I'm not sure how many people advised him to do this. And I don't know how many people were pushing for it. I don't know whether the judge himself did not feel that, given all the circumstances, he should take a back step, reflect, and then see what the future holds, rather than come back on the bench as a member of the Superior Court of Judicature. I think this is really concerning. I'm guessing that the matter may even show up in the appointment committee hearings of the nominated Chief Justice, Justice Bafo-Boni. It's something we should all be worried about. Yes, this is democracy. There's MPP, there's NDC. But we really, at the end of the day, want to build a democracy for the future of Ghana. NDC wants to build a democracy. MPP wants to build a democracy. At each point, one time or the other, one person will be in government. And that's what we are operating. And people want people to vote for them. MPP want to dominate, NDC want to dominate. But some of these things, we should leave them out. Now, that's why in the book I talk about the role of the judiciary, how they have been such an important stabilizer to the democracy. Some of the decisions they've given, like 31st December, like the Chachuchi Kata Fast Track High Court case, have helped to stabilize the democracy. Some of those judges who gave the rulings one way or the other may have had sentiments towards this government or that government. Look at the Auditor General issue. Akufo-Addo dismissed the Auditor General, and then the matter went to court, even though it was moot because the Auditor General had already been dismissed. The Supreme Court that was also given the unanimous 7-0 for Akufo-Addo held with people like Professor Cote on the bench. People like Professor Cote have a great relationship with Akufo-Addo for many years. But Professor Cote penned down a ruling that said that the president was wrong. You cannot do that. That is how the democracy works. They may have liked Akufo-Addo. Professor Cote may have liked Akufo-Addo, but when he came to rule on whether Akufo-Addo was right in removing Domelevo, he said no, the president was wrong. So that is what we need. This kind of judgment that comes in this manner, delivered with such dose of heaviness, and every lawyer is upset with it. Every member of the Ghana Bar Association is upset with it. And then what do we hear? Wake up one day, oh, he's been elevated to be a member of the Superior Court of Judicature. My goodness, it is very serious.
But the Judicial Council, I'm sure, would have taken all of this into considerations before proposing him to be.
No, I'm guessing that they may have done that before the Abronia ruling. You see, this list may have been constructed before the Abronia ruling.
So you're saying that they could have reviewed it?
They certainly should. In fact, when they said that it had been suspended indefinitely, everyone applauded that. Oh, it's because of the guy. Everyone said, oh, they don't want to take the guy out. Okay. That's why they are doing it, because what he did really.
So then perhaps the question should be directed at the council, that what went into the decision to nominate him.
The question should be directed at all of us. Everywhere. It should be directed at all of us. Is that what you want?
Things that were said about him.
The same way we want Black Stars players to score goals. Asamoah Gyan, the former captain of the Black Stars, had demonstrated a certain sentimental attachment to MPP because of his mother. It doesn't mean that if he scores a goal, NDC doesn't celebrate. And it doesn't mean that if he misses a goal, MPP don't say that you should have scored a goal, you should have done better.
Okay.
That's how we have to relate to such institutions that don't have to show partisan. He may be NDC, but look, you cannot give this ruling and become a High Court judge.
First of all, there are a few things that we need to straighten. The postponement of the ceremony, which should have taken place sometime last week, I believe, had nothing to do with the involvement of this particular judge. Indeed, the president had to travel to China at very short notice, and therefore there were a raft of activities that he had to reschedule. Indeed, one of them was a tour that he was scheduled to undertake at all state-owned media organizations. I was actually coordinating that. At the last minute, he told me that I had to postpone it because he had to leave. So it had nothing to do with this particular. It was just a matter of a clash of schedule. Schedules, I beg your pardon. So that must be placed on record. There was nothing partisan about it. Number two, the allegation that this judge made the Abronia ruling based on some partisanship is most unfounded. In fact, if you read the ruling, he himself reiterated the fact that a similar activist.
No, I'm not saying he made a partisan.
If you let me land. Yeah, but there were hints of accusations of partisanship. Maybe it was inadvertent. But that came out clearly. So I needed to.
No, then I don't mean
the judge himself indicated that in previous cases, an NDC activist had been brought before him under similar circumstances, and he rendered a similar judgment. So he himself was keen to establish at the very onset that the ruling had nothing to do with partisanship. I went public to disagree with him. But more, I'm saying that a public disagreement, it doesn't matter how many people do the disagreement. In fact, it is healthy for democracy for persons to be able to disagree with rulings and go for free. I have advocated for that. So that the whole or the entirety of the Ghanaian population disagrees with that particular Abronia ruling. There's no reason why this gentleman cannot rise. If instances of corruption or unethical behavior can be raised against him, then there may be a basis. But that you disagree with the ruling, there's no reason why he cannot progress.
But it was unethical behavior.
No. How is that so? There was nothing unethical about it.
Referring to Idi Amin.
There was nothing unethical about it. So you can say that his sources were flawed. Why? We have sat in this country and listened to the exalted Supreme Court of this land make the most bizarre ruling in the birth certificate matter. Till date, I cannot wrap my head around how any court can render such a judgment. Indeed, they came under intense criticism. The entirety of the population bashed them for a ruling that they could simply not accept. Because Moro, explain to me how, for instance, a birth certificate, and I have seen my children's birth certificate, it clearly states my name, states where I come from, states the mother's name, where she comes from. And therefore, it should leave nobody in doubt about where the child who has been so born comes from. Yet the Supreme Court says this document is invalid and cannot attest where the child comes from. Except that if you use the same birth certificate to go and obtain a Ghana card, that one shows where you come from. That is the most bizarre ruling. And today, this stands as one of the most unpopular rulings ever made in our history. There are other rulings that we can hold the Supreme Court to. For instance, the one that they did on the 4 MPP MPs who were running independent. When the law is clear, the MPP constitution is very clear that the moment you leave the party to contest against their candidate, you forfeit your membership. It is so clear, it's there in black and white. Yeah, and there are instances where this has been done. Under Professor Michael Quay, a similar development happened, and it was upheld. Yet the same Supreme Court said that that clear provision in the MPP constitution should be set aside. People read political meanings into it, that they wanted to prop up the MPP. But I don't think that all the panel members who did that ruling should be denied some progression because we disagree with that particular point. So I think that we are being too heavy-handed towards this circuit judge. For me, it is not a fatal flaw. That ruling does not in any way seriously threaten the dispensation of justice in this country. What matters most is that at the end of the day, Abronyo got his day. He was released on bail, and life continues. So I think that we need to cut this judge some slack. Of course, he then has to be minded to do better and make amends. But I don't think that this premise is sufficient to deny him progression. And certainly no political consideration has gone into this one. Yeah.
All right, so let's rumble in the jungle.
Sure.
And if we have the movie A Thriller in the Malena, it would be nice to watch it for a few minutes before we start this. But
I think he started off as a sports journalist, so he's familiar with the Fraser Ali, Babs in Zaire.
1975?
74.
And
It was Foreman. That was in Zaire.
In Congo.
Yeah, in the heydays of Mobutu Sese Seko.
At the height of the Cold War.
Yes. Don King was
political.
So I want us to look at the government's quest and fight against or to fight corruption, and to get persons who have occupied public positions to be accountable. Simplicity. But there are two strands of this. There's one that is being handled by the OSP, and there's one that's being handled by the executive arm of government. Strictly speaking, I'm talking about the Attorney General's Department. And we witnessed, or we saw, or watched the Attorney General when he held a news conference must have been on Wednesday, and updated us on the National Service, investigations into some acts of impropriety that happened under the tenure of Agib Tawari. And also, we were told about but prior to that, there was an interview which was held by the Deputy Attorney General, who was responding to some, correspondence which had leaked, on social media, which the Office of the Special Prosecutor was not happy about, and it has to do with the extradition of the former Finance Minister to Ghana and some of the challenges that they faced, and whether the Office of the Attorney General has been supportive of that effort or not. So there's two issues in one, but it all has to do with accountability. Maybe let me start with that of Dominic Ayine and the things that he said, and what Felix Kwatro-Fosu, who speaks for both the president and the government, wants to take away from everything that Dominic Ayine has said, and what is next. Because some persons are saying that he's only conducted a trial by media or media trial, and then really nothing is going to happen. So what are we supposed, what's some of the fine highlights of some of the things that he said? And then also, when you're done with that, it will be good to pick your thoughts on the back and forth between the Attorney General's office and that of the OSP. And it has to do with how to bring Ken Ofori-Atta down, whether we need a docket, and whether the Attorney General is actually supporting fully the efforts of the OSP to bring Ken Ofori-Atta down, and whether you're one of those also frustrated that, look, Ken has not been brought down to Ghana to face the music and so on. So two issues in one. So with the Dominic Ayine one. The Special Prosecutor one.
That is pretty brief and straightforward. I think that the Attorney General was clear.
Well, let me start with Paul, because you just landed on the. All
right, that's fine.
Paul, I don't know whether you have something.
Yes.
Before
the Attorney General's press conference.
Yes.
Well, before I say that, I think I'd like to draw a bit of history on these prosecutions and all of that. And we are here talking about Mrs. Rawlings, and it's important. The governments of the Fourth Republic have always had a responsibility since the 2000 campaign, which was on corruption. 2000, I believe, was the first major campaign where the opposition mounted a corruption agenda against the government. And since then, it appears that every campaign has had corruption at the center of it. And the corruption has always been treated on the altar of the optics more than the reality all the time. Because it may look like corruption, it may feel like corruption, but in terms of the court processes, it may not stand the test of the trial. Here we are seeing the Deputy Attorney General, the Honorable Justice Ramsay, saying to us that people who acquired lands at ridiculous prices may not have fallen foul of corruption after all. At the beginning of the government, a list was published by the new government within the terms of oral Operation Recover All Loot, that certain persons who were named publicly had obtained lands in prime areas in Accra for ridiculous prices. Many people were upset that how do we all work as Ghanaians and then somebody buys a land in a prime area for 10% of the value, sometimes 5%, sometimes even 1%, and the whole hula baloo was generated on it. 10 months down the line, the Deputy Attorney General tells us that that happened, but it may not be corruption, and everyone is confused about it. Here we are with the very revered and feared Domelevo, who was part of Oral, who, when he was announced as being part of Oral, generated a lot of excitement among the NDC grassroots that here is the guy who is going to deal with it. Uses the word garbage to refer to some of the applications that came to Oral, and that they cannot establish it. So the corruption narrative that wins elections may not be sufficient to convict people in court. That's the dichotomy that political operatives must be very clearly aware of. And then there's also the cultural dimension. When the government takes position, people expect the government to deliver its results and its social contract to the people of Ghana. If that is not delivered, that's not very easy to deliver. You are dealing with 30 million people, and you're going to be dealing with a situation where your local government system is not working well. Everything is at the center. If a road in Atebubu is not working, it is President Mahamad's fault. If a road in Hamile is bad, it's President Mahamad's fault. If water has not flown through the taps in Bolga for the last 3 days, it's President Mahamad's fault in Accra. Elsewhere, where the local government system is very well developed, you don't have those things. So any government in Ghana operating under this political system without a properly developed local government system is going to have a difficulty satisfying the people, because almost every difficulty is attributed to the central government. Now, when you have that kind of situation, you have 4 years or 8 years, you can hardly have an 8 over 10 mark from every Ghanaian. As soon as your mark becomes 4 over 10 in some sectors, 6 over 10 in some sectors, 5 over 10 in some sectors, then the onus is on you to deliver those results. If at that time you are chasing political opponents for some things that looked optically good in elections but cannot stand the test of trial in court, then you begin to lose cultural ground. When President Kufuor took office in 2000, he was very popular. He won a very popular mandate. It may not have been as big as we are seeing today, but the change in the atmosphere was obvious. Everyone thought that 2004's elections was a given. 2004 came, and it appeared that the government did not win as many votes as they expected. Indeed, people like Tony Edu and others, Mohamed Mumuni and others, even went to court, saying that the declaration of results by the information minister.
Also went to court.
Yes, so what's his name? The guy who it will come. Rojo Metal. They went to court. Challenge at that time there was no election petition process, so they took ordinary court processes and went in, challenging the declaration of 2004 elections because they said that Obechebi Lamte had declared the results in the castle. People were surprised that how did President Kufuor just cross just by? It was about prosecutions. When the incarceration of Kwame Pepra and Victor Selome and Sipa Yankee occurred, surprisingly, Ghanaians were not happy with it. They didn't like it. And then the MPP government ran into more difficulty when, in the second term, they initiated the prosecution of Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman Rawlings. It doesn't matter what people had done. People were saying that the onus is on the Kufuor administration to deliver the resources that they had promised Ghanaians. And then the perception of corruption. You see, once corruption is operating in a perception, you can hardly run away from it. Governments can be very careful about the optics, but because it is perception. Elsewhere abroad, they understand that perception is not the same as this. So the authorities manage that perception situation and tell people that we're in a prosecution, he is not guilty until the court has finished, and so you can't pronounce him guilty and all of that. It is in the context of all these things that makes the Attorney General's regular press conferences worrying to some sections of the society. Because what the Attorney General's press conferences does is to fuel the perception that somebody had stolen. I'm not saying somebody has stolen or somebody had not stolen, but whether somebody has stolen or not, it should be settled by a court. If we politicize it and we PR it and we make it a matter of communication, we are going to run into that difficulty, not just for everyone, but for the government itself. Because here you come and stand and say somebody has bags, somebody has watches. Tomorrow, an investigative journalist comes and says, the Deputy Minister of John Mahama, I saw him in Selfridges in London. This is the video. Look at the watch he was buying. It's still perception. What do you do with that? So a few civil society people are quite worried that these details, you see, the Attorney General is entitled to speak. And I think he should speak on the government accountability sphere. That's a good program. I mean, this is the first time we're having that. We have these press conferences here and there that are never sustainable. But it appears that Felix's government accountability series is working. So yes, he has to speak. But when he comes to speak and give grand details in this manner, that fuels the perception that something wrong has happened. And in the end, we are not able to secure these prosecutions. It's problematic for the democracy we are building, and nobody's going to win. You might win today, you lose tomorrow. Because even the person speaking, tomorrow somebody will say that, were you not the one addressing the press conference? I was following you in New York, and I saw what you bought, and you bought it for $24,000. If in 2027, the Attorney General, and these days you are wearing something, they photograph it, they put it on a thing, they tell the price. The Attorney General gets a gift from his friend in school in America who has nothing to do with Ghana and says that I'm happy with what you are doing in Ghana. You make all of us proud. We're in the same postgraduate class and you make all of us proud. I work in Wall Street. I have a lot of money. Here is a wristwatch. And you wear it. And then they say, hey, look at the watch he's wearing. $24,000. You came and said Hanan has done this. Perception. So I'm thinking that it's important that in briefing the press on these things, the Learned Attorney General will stay with the operation of the law, how much room the law allows him to speak before he goes to court. Perhaps he should keep that one. Yes, we have arrested Mr. Hanan, who is on bail. We are taking him to court. We are charging him for 78 million Ghana cedis that he cannot account for. When we get into the court, we'll give the details. The court's the public here and everybody will hear it. But this is his nephew. He gave his wife this. His wife has 61 bags. I don't know whether those details are important for the Learned Attorney General. I mean, other people can speak. Communicators can speak about it. That, yeah, we have. But the Attorney General, the prosecutor, the lead government prosecutor, appointed under Article 88, I'm not so sure whether these things. But what interested me in the press conference for a news reporter was when the Attorney General appeared to be responding to Fifi Kweti's concerns. Fifi Kweti, the General Secretary of the party, who is a man known for his integrity, came out and said that he's worried, and he was addressing NDC lawyers. He's worried that some of them in that room were negotiating on behalf of some of the people being prosecuted. And that he's watching.
No, he didn't say that. Paul,
what did he say?
This. He says attempting to.
Okay, fair enough. Yes. We're attempting to negotiate.
So whether it happened or not, we don't know.
Yeah, he said they were attempting to negotiate on behalf of some of the people being prosecuted. And that he will name them in subsequent appearances. And the matter ended there. During the president's press conference, I think the president had occasion to calm people down and said that he's in charge, he's the boss, he's not going to negotiate with anyone, and that calmed down. However, the Attorney General found occasion at the press conference to yet respond to Fifi Kweti, this time naming names. The president himself has spoken, so you can put the president aside. But he named the chief of staff, Julius Deborah. And then he named another person I thought he never should have mentioned, the secretary to the president. The work of the secretary to the president is not in the public eye, and is always the case everywhere in the world. Do you know who the Donald Trump secretary is? We don't know them. They are not in the public eye. They do the president's secretarial work. They are very important people, but they're not in the public eye. The Attorney General comes and says, Callistus Mahama has not put pressure on him. Julius Deborah has not put pressure on him. President Mahama has not put pressure on him. President Mahama has spoken himself. He's the boss, so he's spoken. But why do you name Julius Deborah the chief of staff and Callistus Mahama? He doesn't name Felix Kwakye Ofosu, who is also a very important actor in the office of the president, perhaps the most important actor in terms of the public. And he doesn't also name the chairman of the Council of State, for instance, Honorable Do Ajaho. So I looked at it, I said, I was asking my reporters, have you seen what the Attorney General is saying? He's responding to Fifi Kweti and mentioning 3 names. Fifi Kweti was addressing a group of lawyers. All of these 3 names that the Attorney General is are not lawyers. Is he sending us a signal one way or the other? I'm not sure. So that was what I picked from it. I think that civil society and general public are concerned about the details that Attorney General gives in what the investigation has found. Maybe he has to have another look at it. He's entitled to report to the press. Everywhere in the world, America, they report to the press. They say that, yes, we are prosecuting this, we are prosecuting that. But these details that he gives, being a political actor, a principal political actor, we should all be careful, because tomorrow you will be wearing a watch, you'll be wearing a shoe, you'll be wearing a belt, you'll be sitting in Emirates first class, and somebody will video you and come and tell us that Emirates first class is $11,000. The Attorney General was there. The Deputy Attorney General was there. The Deputy Attorney General was there with his girlfriend. This is the girlfriend's photograph. It is taxpayers' money. It may not be taxpayers' money. It's entirely possible it's not taxpayers' money. But if the Deputy Attorney General is photographed with his girlfriend in Emirates first class, and you come and tell us that Hanan has bags, what do we do with that? It's important that our politicians limit the way in which we fuel this perception of corruption. I continuously discuss Cecilia Dapaah, that this issue of Cecilia Dapaah was one of the issues that cost the MPP the election. And I used to say that before the election, that if the MPP were to lose the election heavily, the Cecilia Dapaah story is responsible for it. Because how do we sit here and hear that a minister has acquired $1 million in her house? There are 88 of them. That's $88 million of Ghanaian taxpayers' money in their homes. During the campaign, President Mahama said, don't worry, we'll go to their homes and pick the money for you. And we all celebrated it. Choboy, yay! Now, 10 months into the government, FBI comes and says, Cecilia Dapaah did no wrong. OSP comes and says, Cecilia Dapaah did no wrong. And Cecilia Dapaah is still walking around. But it has cost at least 1 million, 2 million, 3 million votes of the party that she belonged to. We all have to be careful in the way we address this perception issue. And governments must learn from the experiences of Kufuor's administration in incarcerating people in one way or the other, the prosecution of Mrs. Rawlings, which actually drew out J.J. Rawlings in the election of 2008. That 2008 election was a shoo-in for Akufo-Addo to win. The reason why he fell short of those things are there could be many reasons, but one of the critical reasons was the efforts of Fly Lieutenant Rawlings crisscrossing the country tirelessly, even without the Mills campaign. Now, they had a three-pronged approach. Mills was one place, John Mahama was one place, and J.J. Rawlings, who was a powerful military leader, went on the ground to campaign against the MPP candidate. Later on, Rawlings told Ghanaians that Akufo-Addo is a gentleman he had always admired in politics. Later on, they became good friends. But for the fact that his wife was being prosecuted in a manner that many people felt that she shouldn't have been prosecuted, Ayuko Otu was the Attorney General at the time, it drew Rawlings onto the street and perhaps cost the MPP the 2008 election. So I'm drawing a caution that by all means, let's catch thieves. But the state agencies and the Attorney General and those who do it must be careful not to fuel the perception, because it affects all politicians at the end of the day, and we really must be careful about it.
All right, Felix.
Well, interesting submissions, but there are many issues that I need to straighten once again. To begin with, citing Justice Shremsai's pronouncements and that of Domelovo, do not in any way undermine the fight against corruption that we have waged. To begin with, if the Deputy Attorney General says, oh, the mere fact that you've acquired land at what is perceived to be a ridiculously low price does not in itself constitute a crime or an act of corruption, that is trite knowledge. Moro, it is trite knowledge. The mere act itself on the surface won't constitute a crime. But if it is investigated and found that the actors involved deliberately compromised their position and gave the land to you because of political connection, and that the land was valued at a certain price but was sold to you at a knockdown rate due to political considerations, that is where the crime will be. So that is why it requires investigation. So if tomorrow we woke up and learned that you've bought some government property around Metro TV here for 10,000 Ghana cedis, that in itself doesn't mean that you've committed a crime. But if we find that the officer in charge knew that this land was $1 million, and because you are his friend or his crony, he gave it to you at 10,000, then there's an issue to investigate, so that the official who did that will be held liable for the action. That is essentially what the Deputy Attorney General says. And how does this detract from the fight against corruption? Again, I listened to the program on Joy News where Mr. Domelovo spoke, and in fact the exact quotation has been published on Manjaro Online, so anybody interested can read. What he said was that from the very onset, everybody knew that the oral committee set up by President Mahama, which in any event was set up before President Mahama took office, and therefore could not have had any legal mandate anyway to do any prosecution or even investigation, was set up just to collect information from the people of Ghana or anybody who had it and process same for the use of the Attorney General once he is appointed. In fact, I put out that statement. Again, anybody who goes to my Facebook wall or Twitter page can download the statement and read it. It was very, very clear. In fact, the exact description I used was that it was a preparatory team. And to the extent that they didn't have any legal mandate, on what basis were they going to conduct investigations? So their mandate was very clear. Nobody who is being truthful could have been in doubt what the remit of their work was. It was said that if you, Moro, had evidence that Paul had engaged in any act of corruption, bring it. If you have what you believe to be evidence, add it. It will be sifted through, and then what is deemed to be workable will be then given to the Attorney General once he takes office. That is precisely what happens. So it is entirely possible that people will bring information that you can consider as garbage or rubbish. Yeah. And those people who worked in that committee were in no doubt that that could happen. It is the reason why after they submitted their report, the Attorney General gave it to accredited state agencies to conduct investigations into and find which ones merit further action. There has never been a period where anybody said that the over 2,000 complaints that they receive, all of them could be prosecuted. Nobody can think that way. They whittled it down to about 280 cases. Even then, there's no guarantee that all 280 cases will master scrutiny in court. So, for me, we are splitting hairs over nothing. We are wasting precious time on what is so obvious. But perhaps it is a tactic adopted by those who want to see the fight fail in order to obfuscate the issues and draw us into a discussion of tangential, insignificant matters when the real issues are pending. So Mr. Dumelovo has not said anything that invalidates the work of the committee. Indeed, I heard one MP claim that the MPP has been vindicated. How does Mr. Dumelovo's statements vindicate you? As we speak, there are several MPP officials who were prominent in the Akufo-Addo government who are standing trial on the basis of the work that Oral did, which has been further investigated to establish clearly the culpability or otherwise of those named in there. So how does that vindicate you? So I think that the MPP are in too much of a hurry to poo-poo what is happening. Of course, you can understand the political motive behind it. They want to douse public interest in this and create a situation where people begin to doubt the efficacy of what is happening. So that can be understood from a political context. But let nobody be in doubt about the seriousness that is being attached to this. You see, Moro, the last time I was here with Paul, I highlighted it. Look, there is no dispute that the Akufo-Addo government supervised unprecedented levels of corruption. Sometimes it was palpable. It was clear that there was corruption going on. And you in the media, on a daily basis, bombarded us with exposés of corruption. At a point, we were just swarmed that one could not, you had hardly finished discussing one corruption allegation before another one is tossed in. And so you could even not tell which one to focus on because there were so many. Because of that, the people of Ghana legitimately demanded action from President Akufo-Addo, who was unwilling to take such action. You could see clear wrongdoing that was not punished. Indeed, in many instances, he himself jumped to the defense of the persons who had been accused of corruption. And so it was clear that nothing was going to be done about that unless and until that government was booted out. Now, any responsible party or candidates who wanted to lead this country needed to respond to that public demand. Because Moro, this is a country where people have actually been shot, tied to the stakes and shot because of corruption. And it was supported. We are talking about the demise of Mrs. Rawlings. In her heydays, there were demands for blood, for persons who had engaged in acts that pale into insignificance when compared to what has happened under the MPP. So the Ghanaian people have always demanded action about corruption. He spoke about how corruption was a major issue in the 2000 elections. That, in 2016. And of course, in every election. Of course, in every election. And so was it in 2020, so was it in 2024. So was it under President Kufuor in 2008. So was it in 2004 when the Malamisa kickback case emerged. You remember that? President Kufuor's Wawa speech, he came under a barrage of criticism for appearing to endorse corruption when he justified the incidence of corruption in his government. So corruption has always been an issue. But have we as a people, has various governments responded to it in a manner that is satisfactory to the people of Ghana? Up until 2024, the people of Ghana thought no. So anybody who wanted to lead this country needed to make a firm commitment to addressing that particular concern. Then came in oral, Operation Recover Our Root. And President Mahama says, look, I have heard the cries of Ghanaians. I, as president, will take steps to ensure that we address this canker of corruption in a manner that is comprehensive, in a manner that makes it a high-risk activity for persons wanting to get into it. So what did he do? It was in a manifesto, captured in there. When he was elected, before he could take over as president formally, he put in place a mechanism to begin work on addressing the issue of corruption under the previous government. So then he set up the oral committee to receive information about acts of corruption and process that information. So it was raw material. Nobody could take that to court to seek conviction unless and until subsequent work had been done to establish firmly whether or not the allegations are true and whether there's basis, there's evidence to support him. That is what happened. When he took over, indeed a ceremony was held where the report of oral was then handed over to the Attorney General. He gave it to the NIB, the police CID, sometimes the National Signals Bureau is involved, sometimes the National Security itself is involved, and the Attorney General's office itself, and then Yoko, to look into these matters. And Moro, they won't tell, I'm sure Paul knows because he has his ears to the ground. Dozens, scores of MPP officials have been invited for questioning. On a daily basis, I get briefings. So they will give you a grade showing who has been called, who has been cautioned, who has been billed. It is not all of them that gain media attention. Perhaps because of the personalities involved. They are not necessarily people who are in the front burner of our politics. So you may not know. But I can tell you, over 80 different people have been interviewed. Some of them have been given bail quietly. Some of them have people standing surety for them. Yes. 80. And more. And it is something that continues to happen. Wow. And let me tell you, all the 280 cases that Ora presented are being looked into. All of them, bar none. So that has been done. There are some that naturally, because of the actors involved and their own attempts to seek support from their base, it gets to the front burner, because when they are invited or arrested, they mobilize people to come and make noise to demand their release and all. So that one naturally is covered by the media. And then sometimes you in the media get wind of it, and so you blow it up, which is okay. But I can assure you that that is happening. Subsequent to this, the Attorney General then carries out detailed scrutiny of the facts of each case and makes a decision as to whether or not it should go to court. That is standard practice. That is what it is. Not everything that comes before the Attorney General or prosecutorial bodies that they take to court, because they in fact, there may yet be instances where there is evidence of wrongdoing, but perhaps the weight of the evidence may be insufficient, because in criminal cases you have to meet a certain high threshold that it must be beyond reasonable doubt. So there are instances where you see that yes, there are questions to be answered. The questions have not been satisfactorily answered, but if you take it to court, you may not get the evidence that is required to secure conviction. So you leave it at that until a time where you get additional evidence. But in many instances, there is hardcore, irrefutable evidence. But this Attorney General is a well-trained, well-heeled, experienced legal practitioner. He himself has represented many people in criminal cases. So he is fully aware of the threshold that must be met and the nuances that go into securing conviction. So because of that, he is doing a thorough job. He is going through the files, the dockets, with a fine comb. Indeed, at the briefing, he gave you a list of cases that he has finished investigations on. SkyTrain, mathematical sets, and what have you. He gave a list. It is there. You understand me? But you see, the Attorney General, like myself, is a public official. And therefore, his work is also subject to scrutiny, especially in circumstances where certain quarters of Ghanaian society have sought to criticize him for what they believe to be a slow-paced approach to implementing oral. So it is necessary for him to come out to assure the public, give information about the work he is doing, and also account for the reason why. For instance, he will call Paul, question him, and take him to court. You see, Paul is a citizen of the country. His rights must be protected, like mine and yours. So the moment the Attorney General decides that he will alter Paul's rights or act in ways that limit Paul's rights because he is taking him to court, ostensibly because Paul has committed some offense or the other. He is accountable for that decision. And therefore, the people of Ghana must hear why he is taking such a step. Look, and Paul again is an exposed person. He's traveled the world over. So he knows that in the most liberal democracies in this world, including the United States of America, prosecutors on a daily basis engage the media and put out details of why they are taking some action against people. Indeed, the most recent one that we can cite in terms of its high profile is President Trump himself. He was a former president of the United States. Yet, a prosecutor in New York staged a press conference, announced that he had been indicted. He was taking him to court on the basis of ABCD. Indeed, as far back as 1994, when the O.J. Simpson case broke out, prosecutors faced the public on a daily basis to account for the reason why they were taking some steps. So it is not new, it is not unheard of for an attorney general or a prosecutor to mount a podium and disclose details of why he is taking people to court. The people of Ghana deserve that. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, Moro, we behave as though court processes in Ghana are secret. Indeed, because of the Atufosin case, I went to court many times. Everything that is taken to court is actually public information. It just may be that you in the media are not interested in, so you don't highlight some of them. But in the more high-profile ones, you go to court and in fact you report. In some instances, the proceedings are telecast live. So every evidence, every accusation, every detail of the case is in the public domain. Indeed, you can apply to the court for proceedings to be given to you. And if the court reviews it and finds that there is basis for your demand, they will give it to you, which you will then publish. The statements of offense, they are published. Why? Godfred Dami, when he was Attorney General, whenever he charged somebody in court, the charge sheet was made public. He published it. And the charge sheet is no different from what the Attorney General has spoken about in his media encounters. So why are we behaving that as if the Attorney General has done anything that is untoward? As if he's done something that we've not heard before? Why? In the Atufosin case, at a certain point, the judge ordered that the proceedings be telecast live because he wanted transparency. And they were telecast live. People watched it. The 2012 election petition, the cameras were taken into the courts. In the 2021 too, the cameras were taken to the court. So we heard and saw everything that was discussed. So why are we behaving as though the Attorney General coming to tell us what he is taking to court, which will become public information anyway, is such a travesty of justice? Again, the Attorney General cannot convict anybody. If the Attorney General says, Moro, you have stolen 2,000 Ghana cedis, and now when you stole the money, you took it to Metro TV Rural Bank to save in your account. And that on a particular day, you went to take that money to go and purchase a car. That in itself does not convict you. It is the reason why after the Attorney General's press conference, Hanan is not in prison. Hanan will have his day. The Attorney General said today, Friday, 24th October, 2025, I'm going to charge Hanan, his wife, and 2 others for the offenses that I have stated. He will be given his day in court. Hanan will be given every opportunity to present evidence to show that what the Attorney General is saying has no merit, and therefore the court should throw it out. That is what has happened in every case that has been taken to court. So I'm not sure why people think that if the Attorney General comes out to brief the public, he has committed an offense. Justice Luis Bandes said it, that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Right. If the Attorney General, a public official, paid with taxes that you and I pay, is doing his work, and he feels that he's got to a point where he needs to keep the public informed, there's nothing wrong with it. The Ghana Accountability Series has been set up for all government officials who have anything to say about their work, to the extent that it is in the public interest, can come and do so. The Attorney General is a public official, mind you. Yes, in fact, in his case, his role is specifically defined in the Constitution. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he is perhaps the only official whose job description is captured clearly in the Constitution. And often he is the only official whose job description is tied to his professional training. So it is a very important office. And I see no reason why the Attorney General cannot brief the people. But you see, it is understandable why the MPP will rail against this, and the likes of people who belong to the MPP will rail against this. Because somehow they believe that these disclosures tend to vindicate the concerns that the people of Ghana had for which reason they booted them out of office. They are not happy that the people of Ghana are getting to know the kind of wrongdoings that happened under them. Well, see, some of the issues are mind-boggling, and you wonder what exactly it was that President Akufo-Addo was doing as president. You see,
before you talk about the mind-boggling, I'll bring you. But before you talk about the mind-boggling nature of some of the things that happened, please do me this favor. You're still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. Stay with us.
At a time when our nation faces the existential threat of environmental degradation, particularly from illegal mining and deforestation, access to information, to accurate information, becomes critical. Transparency in environmental governance allows citizens to understand the impact of unsustainable practices and to demand accountability from those entrusted with the management of our natural resources. I urge the Commission to make environmental information a central pillar of its awareness campaigns, ensuring that citizens are empowered to act in defense of our collective future. I am pleased to note that the Commission continues to evolve institutionally, guided by the 5-year strategic plan, aptly titled Pathway to Open and Transparent Governance.
The most recent participant in the Government Accountability Series is the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, who today also happens to be the keynote speaker, Dr. Dominic Ayini, who in an unprecedented manner outlined the facts and evidence upon which he has filed or intends to file charges against persons who have caused financial loss to the state or used public office for profits.
Start your Kids Day the right way, filled with confidence to take on any challenge. Pepsodent Kids contains the right amount of fluoride and sugar acid protection to care for their developing gums and teeth. Grab either orange or strawberry so they brush with the sweet flavor they love morning and evening. Pepsodent Kids, giving your children a bright smile for a brighter future.
Edru ho.
Afi odra afasheno ebeye krabeshe Ignite Media odra yakabo mu de enipa bebre ena ma afi afasheno
Enunti kaye ho Metro TV, Original 91.9 FM. Jerry free ani die na se el mampon hu afahye na se ne ne adofo ene mamponfo nyina anom asafonsa akohiem ewo OPK joint eda eye 12th October to 19th October enumre bia
na woni bibi efie da no ye de grand deba no ebebrew ehonum na ye bedan amamre ne amane di enkabomo edema ekuapeman ye wie soso a ne ye de games ahihye so enti bra na be kire wo bobre se wo betimi aye games ni bi
na ne memne dan so eye 25th no so no uni abo Jimmy say asset ye di bo fufu party bremo uni ade ohia ne wayewa ene wo chensin fabra na bedidi free
ni catch you say afi so wentimi ambepie mu ewo Ignite Media odra afahye we yasia ene na wayo ho
enunti kaye ho bayo fa odra afahye no ense so shenon so say some spices any jojo carbonated vodka mix and a soya semi de jumadi ebrel
odra
safe to save bam
Chechi woni nara mi din e de baby da pa mi di ade sonko kra na ebremo nya odi to aduane mu ama waduane e de pa na me de bremo eno any some spices dey emu wa no bebre o various flavors ubenya eya akoko ubenya nantwie ye de gu jollof ma emu ye de ubenya ne de gu nkwan ye de gu froye mu ho na kope bito na ema waduane enye de unye minia ye nkon ye konko tie nyankofo eka
autant de communication ni o enjoy oduba that Samu spices one in the essence no I think it Samu spices in a sabi daddy so say Samu spices
Munsam.
Salmon spices. Nyama chicken.
Salmon spices.
Nsaka in Ketwa. Measure 10 grams. Yawa chicken, spaghetti, garlic and ginger, stew, and jollof. Any flavors. Alpha bebre.
Salmon spices. Yes, Saka.
FDRJ Jadien Kratoyatum.
In life, choice is good, but choice plus safety is way better. Your safety and comfort is paramount. Under the cylinder recirculation model, you can buy LPG in a safe environment. All cylinders are inspected and maintained to the best safety standards, so your safety is assured. Just take your empty cylinder to the nearest exchange point and swap it for a filled cylinder. Different cylinder sizes will be available to meet your pocket size. Imagine cooking in a smoke-free environment. This will improve the health and well-being of you and your family. Choose LPG in a safer model of distribution. Cylinder recirculation model. Securing your safety. Creating more jobs. A message from the National Petroleum Authority under the patronage of the Ministry of Energy.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to Amame Manfo, Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, and a bomb is several buying, a man is swing, Nesasu Mama Hoto so a will beg you.
Kel Charcoal Toothpaste.
Choose Kel Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
I'm the second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa dear. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late?
Of course.
Star 712 hash, star 712 hash. Yeah, you go be the luckiest. Copy from Georgia be luckiest. From not the cause she be luckiest. Yeah, you go be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go be the luckiest.
That's Kwame.
Send your goddamn boom. If you put it toy, so would the coming of the son of man be. Is that his car?
Dial star 712 hash. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompt and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
Edruho.
Afi Odra Afashano, Ebeye Krabeshe, Ignite Media Odra, Yakabo Mude and Nipadebre, and Emma Afi Afashan.
Enunti Kaya Home, Metro TV, Original 91.9 FM. Jerry Free and Nase El Mampon, whom Afashanase, Niani Adofo, any Mampon Fonina, Anum Asafonsa, Akushim, Ewo OPK joint. Eda 12th October to 19th October, and you may be
now when BB, Efia Dano, ya the Grand Debano Ebebrel, a hormona Yabedai, a Mamrani Amania di and Kabomo, Edema Equapemai. Ye Riosua near the game, Sasha so, and to Brana Bachelor Bobre, so bet me I ye games.
Na ne memne dam so eye 25th no so no unia bo James say asset ya di bo fufu party brem unia de ohia no wayewa ene wo chance fabra na bedidi free
we catch you say afi so went me ambepie mu ewo Ignite Media Odra afahye we yasia ene na wayo ho
enunti kai ho bayo fa Odra afahye no ense so shene so say some spices any Jojo carbonated vodka mix and a soya semi di jumadi ebrel.
Ojra.
Safe to save bam.
You're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I'm here with Mr. Paul Adomache, who is the host of Good Evening Ghana and a seasoned journalist, and also Felix Kwakye Ofosu, who is the Minister in charge of Government Communications and also spokesperson for the President. And Felix, I'll bring you in, but we've just received a statement from Jay's Plant Pool. We'll be reading that statement shortly. It's in reaction to some things that the Attorney General has said about some $2 million difference in some transactions that happened during the MPP's time. But I think they're trying to set a record straight on that matter. But we'll look at it. It's a very long
lengthy one. Okay.
It's a very lengthy one, but we'll look at it. And also, Prince Eric Ejia has sent a message. But Prince, I'll look at your message. I received more than 30 from very prominent people. But I want you to land on your point, and then we'll look at the messages.
Some of the issues at hand are quite mind-boggling.
Okay.
And one is inclined to believe that there was some governmental conspiracy behind it. But look at the National Service case. Of course, admittedly, it is not the first time that we've heard of ghost names in National Service. It's a long-standing phenomenon. But the amounts involved, for instance, when President Obama was president previously, he got wind of this and he asked the BNI to look into the matter. So they went into it and found out about 54 million or so was involved. And we all know the swift action he took to deal with the persons involved. Over 100 district directors were sacked and put before court. And the Director General at the time was also put before court. But initially, the Attorney General had thought that up to about 548 million Ghana cedis was involved in this particular National Service matter. Only for the Auditor General to go into the matter to audit and find that the amounts ran into about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. And indeed, on Monday, when the President met the Chief Justice, the Auditor General, the Auditor General had cause to brief the President on some of the findings. They were mind-boggling. No, if the amount involved was, say, 5 million, 10 million, you could say that, oh, this is one or two people engaged in some illicit activity under the cover of darkness. But it is inconceivable that up to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis of government money will be siphoned outside of the system that is created to pay National Service persons without anybody higher up the chain getting wind of this. Because if you look at the process of payment, the claims have to go to the Finance Ministry for approval. And therefore, when you see a spike in the numbers overnight, over a considerable period of time, it certainly should trigger some concern. So you wonder what checks and mechanisms were in place to monitor some of these activities so that you do not spot up to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis of public funds that we hardly have, going into private pockets. And you wonder whether the people who have now been arrested and are being arraigned before court are the only people involved in this kind of scheme. It is something that we need to look into. If you look at the Hanan case, for instance, how do you take money belonging to the organization and pay directly into your account? It makes no sense. How is it that the systems that are put in place, the internal controls, the internal audit process and all of that miss this and allow this to continue over an extended period of time? So it shows that either the government itself was complicit and that this was a governmental conspiracy, or people were exceptionally incompetent as much to see what is happening. But you see, going forward, even as we deal with these cases, we need to draw lessons so that adequate checks are put in place. So what happens is that now, before you get any form of public funds released to pay for anything, we have what we call commencement certificates. It goes to the Finance Ministry, goes to the Finance Minister, who goes through it with a fine comb. And there are many instances where he has disallowed these payments because he is not satisfied about the narration that accompany the request for the payments. That is a way that you, because you see, most of the corruption that we have is procurement driven. In other words, people want to buy things, and it is through the process of buying things that things are either inflated so that something can be creamed off the top, or dubious means are used to ensure that the money lands into the pockets of people who themselves are involved in the transaction. The way to cure it is to have a system that oversees what is happening. And so that is happening. That is why you find that there are people who complain, that these days the finance minister is not releasing money, we are not buying this, we are not buying that. It is all because a system has been put in place to check it. When you do that, you limit. It is entirely possible that 1 or 2 instances may occur where people slip through, but you will minimize it to the barest minimum, and then you are able to deal with the instances that occur. It does appear that it was free for all under President Akufo-Addo, and that nobody bothered to check what was happening, because the extent of the corruption that we've discovered is mind-boggling. Moro, there's even another one. You know, when we came into power, we were given a bill of about 170 billion Ghana cedis as arrears that government of Ghana owed to various contractors and suppliers and other service providers. So you know, the minister announced that an audit was being carried out to ascertain the veracity of these claims. Look, the report that has emerged out of that is shocking, and I'm sure the Minister of Finance will have opportunity in the coming weeks to disclose the details of this audit. So you find that monies were just going down the drain in this country, and that people were putting public funds in their pockets for no work done. And yet we had a government that had a duty to protect this public purse. President Akufo-Addo was very clear during his inauguration in 2017 that he will protect the public purse. But it appears that he did the exact opposite. He opened the public purse up for people to abuse. Okay. And that is how come we have some of these instances. So let it be clear that oral has come to stay. The president is committed to it. It will be carried out to the letter. And as the Attorney General himself said, no amount of interference from any quarter will stop what has to be done. The president is the boss, as pointed out. And in the meeting with the media, he said it, that he is the one who the buck stops with. It is not unusual in our setting here to have influential persons attempting to intercede on behalf of people who get into trouble. So that in itself is not surprising. I don't think that is something that will end today or tomorrow. But the most important thing is that those who have responsibility to act anyway, to the extent that they are convinced that there's a basis to take the actions that they are taking. So I think that the press briefings are not problematic. It is only part of the way that we open up government for scrutiny. It enhances accountability, it enhances transparency. And merely having the Attorney General briefing the public on what he's doing does not convict anybody. The test is in courts, and everybody who is so accused has all the opportunity in the world to state his or her side of the story and convince the judge that the Attorney General is wrong and that there's no basis to take any further action against them. Yes. So let me now let me comment on the OSP. Yes, with the OSP matter.
No, we'll come there because that's the second leg of the discussion. I'll read a few messages and I'll come to you. So Kojo Chumbafo sends a message, and Kojo Chumbafo says that good morning. Sorry. I find it incredulous listening to people like Paul sometimes. In this country, a Supreme Court panel sat under the supervision of the ETWA CJ and determined that our birth certificate is not a proof of citizenship, but the Ghana card and passport, which you need a birth certificate to obtain, is proof of citizenship. They did it because they were under instruction to limit voters who would ostensibly vote for the MPP. Paul hailed the ruling. Today, he sits on TV and exonerates a circuit court judge. Since when does a judge ruling disqualify them from promotion? And then Kojo Chumbafo continues to say that it's instructive to know that Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu is one of the people who was most vociferous in disagreeing with the Abronya ruling, became a victim of Abronya's effusions on social media 2 days later. Go and look for what Abronya said about Honorable Felix Ofosu Kwakye after he went to every length to exonerate the judge. Felix is sitting there. Ask him whether I am lying. Now, this one here from Samuel Brian Abuabing, he says High Court is 65, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court is 70. Moro, is Felix planning to join Chief Alliance United Party? The MPP fully supports accountability, but firmly rejects the weaponization of state institutions to intimidate political opponents, pursue selective prosecutions, or stage media-driven show trials. As President Akufo-Addo has rightly advised, every former government official must be prepared to account for the stewardship. But such pursuit of accountability must not be a show of brazen vindictiveness as we've witnessed this thus far. As for the SP, if we fail to chase Kisi Ejabing and his rogue cabal out of the office and install a credible prosecutor or empower an existing body such as Iyoko Charge or the Attorney General's Department to assume control, this classless and scheming protector would never step down. He and his cronies are running the OSP, which was birthed out of good thought, like a mafia cartel serving their own interests while the state bleeds. They're living large at the expense of the Ghanaian. That's some of Brian Boabing from Awoshi. So Triddles, my very, very good friend Triddles sends a message. It says, good morning.
It's a long-standing
I know.
operator within the NDC Communication Center.
You see, good morning. It says, Moro, permit me to use your medium to congratulate the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Dominic Ayeni, for the wonderful job he's doing for Mother Ghana. I strongly believe all the prosecution of corruption cases should be televised live for all Ghanaians to see how President Akufo-Addo promised to protect the public purse. Ghanaians want more action. In fact, more prosecution to get the thieves jailed. Moro, I always tell my children that even if God gives you 5,000 years to live on this earth, you one day die. So let's all live a humble life. Condolences to all of us. And that's coming from Triddles. And Triddles, I don't know how it happens, but anytime you send a message, it appears 4 times. You may have to check your phone settings. Triddles, please do. Now, Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, Assalamu alaikum, my brother. In my humble opinion, AG has done nothing but addressing the public on issues of corruption that went on in this country under President Akufo-Addo. And if Paul and the NPP functionaries are not happy, they should proceed to court. Governance is for the people, by the people, and for the people. So I see nothing wrong if the AG decides to carry the public along in his line of duty. We need more of those, and I salute him. I salute him for that. Moro, I salute Honorable Felix this morning. He has demonstrated to show this morning that he is on top of the issues, and I'm also proud of him. He should keep it up. And that's from Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm. And Reverend Jose Latte, I know, another long-standing, yes. Now,
setup, yeah.
Jose Latte sends us this message from the UK. Paul, wait, no, Reverend Jose Latte, yeah. He says, tribute to Nana Konadu Ajima Rollins. She was resolute in life. She knew what she wanted and did not deviate. She was reasonable and compassionate. I recall my radio interviews with her at GFM London and Voice of Africa FM London at the time when she was being prosecuted by the state. She made time to explain herself. When it came to her house, she was the tiger disciplinarian. I traveled with her on the same flight from Amsterdam to Accra at the time when protocol had been withdrawn. She waited for her bag like everybody else. Nana ya wo Ojogbang. Reverend Jose Latte. But he says, let's not forget this historical event that it was Nana Akufo-Addo when he was the foreign minister who revoked the diplomatic protocol from JJ and Nana Konadu. And it says more, the law to establish the office of the... and it says,
the most controversial
the law that established the office of the OSP, in my view, was not seriously considered. It duplicates the office of the AG. Maybe we should keep the OSP as an independent prosecution service and then remove the AG as the sole prosecutor of all cases. The AG must only act as the government lawyer to handle cases against the government as it is in England and in Wales. And it says a person is prosecuted in the public interest. The burden of proof in criminal cases is beyond reasonable doubt, as Felix has said. And it says in civil cases, the burden of proof is on the balance of probability. That's very true. Carlos from Ododo says, good morning, Moro. We commend the Attorney General for his excellent work, but Ghanaians need updates on a few issues. The Sangle project under lawyer Atachia, the Communications Ministry under Honorable Eslausu, the airport Christmas tree, the ECG, where the minority chairs the board, and these being investigated or ignored. Also, what's the update on Anabi and the Electra? Was that Monfinson issue? President Mahama mentioned that at Denta. God bless you, Carlos from Ododo. I have a lot more messages.
There are 280 cases.
There's lots of cases.
Of course, it's not possible within 10 months to deal with all of them. So eventually,
all right. So Paul,
we'll dealt with, yeah.
Yeah, just on the point of the Attorney General's press conference, which Felix justifies, I think he also said that a lot of the things the Attorney General will say will end up in court anyway. But that's really where the catch is.
Sorry, Robert Coleman.
Yes.
What's a copy of your book?
Oh, for sure.
Autographed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes. Of Wembley Stadium.
What do you call it?
Well, Robert's going to pay.
No. You have to pay
for the market.
You have to bring an invoice. Exactly. You have to bring my invoice.
No, he says
he has
to bring an invoice for marketing. He has to bring you an invoice for marketing your book.
You see, the Attorney General says these things, and Felix says that these are things that will be established in court, so there's no problem, and that Hanan and all of those people who are mentioned in those Attorney General press conferences have not been jailed because he mentioned them. All of that is true. But the fundamental principle that underpins legal issues is the audie term partem rule. You always have to hear the other side. When these matters are said in court, if the Attorney General comes in court and says, Hanan has stolen money, he has this, Hanan will be there. And the judge will say that, okay, lawyer cross-examine. And the public can see. And I agree with the view that these high-profile criminal trials perhaps should be given live coverage on television. And that will be another step in our democracy. The Kwabena Dubois trial goes on with so much controversy. The other day, Atachan, the lawyer, is reported to have walked out of the court and left Kwabena Dubois in there because he was concerned about something. And he keeps complaining about the attitude of the judge and things that we cannot see if we're not in court. It might be useful for the acting Chief Justice, and who is not going to become Chief Justice soon, to look at these matters and see whether we can have high-profile corruption. Because of the way corruption is so important to every Ghanaian, we may have to have these high-profile corruption trials beamed live on television for everyone to see, check the demeanor of the accused person, the demeanor of the Attorney General, the judge, and all of that, so we can have a real democracy working. So if you go and say somebody has stolen a press conference that you are addressed, that the person is not there, it's very different from saying it in court. You are entirely allowed to say it in court, where the person is there to challenge it. That's the real issue. But if you say it and I hear you and I don't hear the person, and because we all believe government, I believe you, and then it forms an image of the person in my mind, that's really unfair. And that's what I'm coming to about how the optics can be very different from the real prosecution. So yes, I agree with him. The Attorney General will say these things in court, but it is only in court that he should be able to say it. He should be allowed to say these details only in court, because there in court, there are processes. The person can respond. The judge can mention that this one is not part of it. The judge can say that, no. You are going to other matters that are not part of it. Stay within there. At the press conference, it's free for all, and the guy is not there. Should Hanan also construct a press conference today and say that this and that and that and that? He's not a government official. Not many people will believe his press conference as compared to the Attorney General's press conference. So yes, two things that we can take away. Let's see whether we can have a live coverage of high-profile criminal trials so every Ghanaian can see. And also, if the Attorney General speaks and the people are not there to defend themselves, that's really the crux of the matter. I think that's what I want to say about
but again, the audit authority. In fact, instructively, within minutes, I think 5 minutes or so, of the end of the Attorney General's press conference, I saw Hanan issue a statement flatly denying what the Attorney General had said. And he's entitled to do so. He's entitled to do so. Indeed, in the political space, we are accused of all manner of things. I mean, I woke up one day and every people had all splashed all over social media that I had bought 2 houses because Mr. Rollins had said so. They said I had collected some money.
Didn't mention your name.
Yeah, but every people have attributed it to me.
Oh, that's political mischief.
They said that.
Why didn't they attribute it to Stan?
Absolutely.
They said
that
political mischief.
I had collected some money to give to Charlotte. I said these things are said all the time. I issued statements debunking same, and I left with a clean conscience because I knew that it was completely false. You understand me? So that things will be said about you as a political actor. It's not unusual. But if the Attorney General says that I am the attorney, and mind you, prosecutions cost money. He has to put together a docket. Sometimes he has to hire special investigators, hire special auditors, hire experts to proffer an opinion on the facts that he has found. So it costs money. It is a public purse that will be opened up for that to be done. The Attorney General is an official. So once in a while we are there, we hear that the Attorney General has caused the arrest of Paul. Often when that happens, the reasons for doing so are not stated. So Paul is held in police custody or CID custody or BNI custody, or these days they are called NIB custody for some time. Party people swarm the place to protest and demand Paul's release. Then the BNI may issue a terse statement that they are holding Paul in connection with an investigation they are doing. Nothing is said. People can accuse the government of a politically motivated witch hunt against Paul because he is a vociferous critic of government. They can say that because Paul has a disagreement with a particular powerful person in government, they are teaching him where power lies and all that. Then the Attorney General takes the case over and says that I am going to court. That process somehow limits Paul's freedoms as a citizen, because rather than living his normal life, he has to go to court every time that the case is called. Sometimes, even in the course of the trial, fresh charges can be slapped on him, he can be rearrested and all of that. The Attorney General owes an explanation to the people on how he is using the mandate and how that mandate is being executed and why it is even necessary to use that mandate in the first place. So and especially in circumstances where there is legitimate public interest in oral, every now and then you hear public criticism. In fact, both within actors of the National Democratic Congress and out actors within, MP people go at the Attorney General accused him of a lackadaisical attitude. They said that Orial is dead. And when Mr. Dumelovo made his comments a few days ago, the MPP jumped on it. I've told you about an MP, I think the MP from Menchia South, who has claimed that he has vindicated the MPP. So there's genuine public interest in how Orial is being implemented. And Orial was a campaign promise. This is a specific item based on which a section of the electorate voted for President Mahama. They expect outcomes. There's something called process communication. Between the time that you start something and the time that you finish, it's a certain period. In between that period, if you don't engage the public and communicate, they may think that you're actually not doing it. So if President Mahama has stood on a platform and promised that he will look into cases of corruption, where it is necessary to do retrievals, he will do so, and where it is necessary to prosecute, he will ensure that that is done. If word does not go out to the public that that is being done, the public may be justified in thinking that it has not been done. So it is part of the things that government is doing. For instance, when there is performance on the economy, the finance minister holds regular briefings. Indeed, in November this year, at a certain date, or on a certain date, he will go to Parliament to present the 2026 budget. He will give an account of the implementation of the 2025 budget and what we should look out for. The health minister, all things being equal, will be on the government accountability series on Monday to speak to some developments in the health sector. The fisheries minister has been there. The late defense minister, Dr. Manabu was there. Manabu was there. Honorable Muntaka kick-started the process when he briefed the public. So why is the Attorney General unable to do the same things that all public officials do, accounting for what he is doing? And I have told you also that it is not novel. We say that this undermines democracy and that it affects the liberties of individuals concerned. But in the most liberal democracies, where even the rights of animals are upheld, I mean, there was an instance of a footballer, Zuma, he used to play for West Ham, who was videoed kicking his cat. Because of that, the supporters of West Ham demanded his immediate dismissal from the team. Yeah. I think that he was even fined by a court for behaving that way.
Yes, he was.
So this is a society where even the rights of animals are preserved, let alone human beings, where the rights of human beings are taken very seriously. Okay. But even in those societies, the president of the country, when he is under investigation, becomes the subject of commentary by those doing the investigation. Okay. When a decision is made to prosecute, they account for why it must go. Why? O.J. Simpson, perhaps the most famous case. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and Paul can correct me because he's been around longer, it was the first time that cameras were allowed into a court. Okay. The proceedings were aired every single day of the trial. Okay. The prosecutors publicly, in front of the media, stated what evidence they are relying on. In the end, O.J. Simpson was acquitted. So the mere fact that the Attorney General publicly says that you have done ABC does not mean that if he goes to court, necessarily the court will acquit you, because you will have opportunity to challenge the Attorney General's claims. Okay. And indeed, in the Kwabena Aduboahene case, the moment the Attorney General finished the briefing, Atachia issued a statement on behalf of his client, denying all the claims against him. Hanan did same. All those who have been accused have done same. But I don't think that we can say that there's anything wrong with the Attorney General telling us what he will say in court. And let me reiterate, court proceedings are not secret. In fact, except in exceptional circumstances where the judge can cite national security considerations or some other important consideration, all proceedings are open to the public. Tomorrow, you can walk into a court in Ghana on Monday and observe proceedings, whether you have an interest in it or not. So it is not something that is hidden. And every now and then, when major developments happen in court, it is always on the media. Because, in fact, Metro, you have a court correspondent, don't you?
We do.
Why do you have that correspondent? So that he will bring to you what is happening in the courts. Right. So I don't think that the Attorney General has done anything wrong. It is something that will continue. Okay. It is in the public interest that these things are done. Okay. But the ultimate test is in the court. Nobody is convicted because the Attorney General says he has committed a crime. All right.
So let me
and then the OSP matter. If I may, yes.
So let me read 4 other messages, and then we can talk about OSP because it appears that we're struggling to bring Kenneth Ofori-Atta now to come and face the music or to come and face accountability. So Mante Bruce II, who is a senior lecturer at Takrad Technical University, he says that it's quite worrying that a judge would condescend so low by stating in his official ruling that not all individuals are equal before the law and subsequently receive a promotion, particularly after being recalled from retirement. For a government a government got elected on the back of resetting agenda. I think this is not good for the optics. Amazing convictions. Anyway, my heartfelt condolences to Zanato, her siblings, and the rest of the family. Mancha Bruce sends that message. Now, Papa Bisu from Accra says that all those in MPP who think that oral is just a political talk, they should take note. Very soon, tribunals are on their way to quick start the whole show of prosecuting these persons who are found to be corrupt. And also in the society, they should relax and watch the show in a few months' time to come. The young ones are not familiar with tribunals. We, the older ones, are. Whether it is a sham or not, we shall see. Papa Bisu from Spintex sends that message. So Papa Bisu. And then McLean from Seshiri also says that while we continue to hear reports that the city is appreciated, it's important to pause and ask ourselves, what does it really mean for the ordinary Ghanaian? And he talks about, he said, if the city is indeed appreciating how significant is this development, prices of basic goods and services keep escalating. The reality is that many Ghanaians are not feeling any tangible relief in their pockets. That Seshiri also McLean sends that message. Now, let me look at this from Peter T from Shukura, who says, good morning. This is Peter T from Shukura. I extend my regards to Felix Ofosu-Kwakye. May the soul of the late Mrs. Nana Ajima-Rawlings rest in peace. And then he says that Paul must be able to tell us the real story of himself, because he made some of us believe in his journalistic ideological beliefs that he doesn't practice or associate himself with partisan politics. The question is, what has changed? Every department of Good Evening Ghana on Metro TV is now MPP's strategic program, especially when it comes to electioneering season. Over half of the Ghanaian population now has given up and lost interest in his program, including my family across the world. He's no longer Paul Adomotri we know and fell in love with. Peter T from Shukra says that message. And finally, Reverend Jose Latte is back. So Metro TV must make it a duty to do another program working on your right to know. I'm willing to be a part to educate the public on how the law works. I can do the rules of construction. All right, Reverend Jose Latte, thank you very much for that suggestion. All right, so I guess that we can move on now. So OSP, I mean, we've seen the back and forth between the OSP, but that's how Paul, I come to you. We've seen the back and forth between the OSP and the Attorney General's office, and it is whether the Attorney General is given the sufficient support to the OSP to be able to go about its work. And the OSP has said it requires, the Attorney General says it requires a docket from the OSP to be able to file extradition processes to bring Ken Ofori-Atta down. The OSP also said, look, you don't need a docket. All you need is some relevant information. We've given all of that to you. One, has there been an arrest warrant? Two, is he on Interpol red alert? We've given that to you. Three, what are these offenses or the charges? We've given that to you as well. You've also asked us to provide you with two persons who would be attached to some persons from the Attorney General's office to go about to do the extradition process. So what else do you need? Attorney General also insists that no, without a docket, we cannot succeed in bringing Ken Ofori-Atta down. So it's been this back and forth. I don't know, but of course, closely related to this is the conversation which has come up again. Did we go or did we come with the setting up of the Attorney General with the OSP office? Should it be scrapped? Should it be maintained? Or keep the office but change the personnel? I don't know how we're going to change the personnel. So that's the discussion. I don't know where, Paul, you stand on this. I mean, the back and forth, and also, are we back to square one? We're not really seeing the relevance of the importance of the OSP and the work that it's doing.
It comes out of this same electioneering campaign and the promise to deal with corruption and the suspicion that the political appointees at the Attorney General's office will never prosecute anything that has to do with the government of the day. And the Attorney General's office is usually after other individuals who are not members of the government. And even where there may be clear and obvious instances of corruption among government appointees, the Office of the Attorney General will not deal with it because they are members of his own government. Supporters of Nana Akufo-Addo will continue to flag the case of Malam Issa, who was the sports minister in Akufo's administration, who were prosecuted. But opponents will be quick to point out that Malam Issa was not a member of the New Patriotic Party and that he was a member of another party, and that is why it was easy for the Attorney General of the day to prosecute him. Now, during the 2016 campaign, Akufo-Addo went around and promised people that he was going to deal with the corruption, which was the wide perception against the John Mahama administration at the time in 2016. the MPP ran a big campaign on corruption, and it was successful in 2016 against John Mohammed's administration. So when he came into office, he felt that, and then carrying from the American example, if you like, the prosecution of President Clinton in the Monica Lewinsky issue, they had appointed what they call a special investigator. His name was Kenneth Starr. And this issue of appointing a special investigator to look at a matter that concerned an important person appears to be the idea which was being toyed with that then eventually gave birth to the special prosecutor. There were conversations at the time whether the appointment of a special investigator should be looked at. Now, some of these conversations even began earlier. The decoupling of the Office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice. Early in the 2000s, there was a big conversation. And the MPP itself, sometime in the Kufuor era, in fact, the MPP before the 2000 election had felt and argued with the Obed Asamoah situation that, sorry, the Obed Asamoah situation that he should not be one person Attorney General, sorry, one person Attorney General and the same person as a Minister for Justice, because the Attorney General ought to be looked as the UK's Attorney General. Lord Goldsmith, who was the UK's Attorney General at Tony Blair, whom I interviewed. Incidentally, the interview was set up by Betty Moldidrisu. She was at that time head of legal at Commonwealth. Lord Goldsmith is not a member of Tony Blair's government, but he was the UK's Attorney General. That's how they do it over there. The Minister for Justice is a member of the government, is a politician. The Attorney General is responsible for prosecution. So like the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, he's appointed by the President, but he's not a political actor. And so he's thought to be independent. So all of these ideas have come through constitutional development, through civil society. IAEA has held conferences on whether we should decouple the Office of the Attorney General, all of that. Somehow, politicians in opposition that I've seen are happy with the decoupling. When they come to government, they do not want to decouple. That has been the trend. So Nana Akufo-Addo was burdened to demonstrate his commitment to dealing with corruption, even with people who are in his government. And so this idea of special prosecutor came up. During the conversations, the constitutional provision allows the Attorney General to have other people prosecute. So it became quite complicated at the end of the conversation, where it was agreed within the MPP's Akufo-Addo's cabinet that in fact you cannot appoint a special prosecutor except if that person is nominated by the Attorney General, because you might be violating the provisions of Article 88. So it then became that the Attorney General must then nominate whoever was going to be the special prosecutor. Then they then looked at it, nominate him, and then what happens? Then it was decided that under the Special Prosecutor Act, you submit him to Parliament for appointment committee hearings, similar to the level of a minister and a deputy minister. Under what office was he going to operate? He was going to operate under the office of the Attorney General. Then the question comes back again, if he's supposed to prosecute government people and anybody, and then he's operating under the office of the Attorney General, what if he decides to prosecute the Attorney General? All of these conversations came up, and it looked very complicated. Anyway, Katenda Akufo-Addo went ahead to do it and had Martin Amidu in there. And then the difficulty started. Martin Amidu was looking for some information. He wanted to prosecute the Japa situation. Akufo-Addo felt that he had not done obeisance to the all-the-time part-time rule. He hadn't spoken to Ken Ofori-Atta. All of these things, Martin Amidu resigned. Then comes another OSP. Currently, if you look at the conversation going on, whereas the activities of the OSP, especially related to Cecilia Dapai and others, may have given an impetus to the NDC's concern and campaign about MPP's corruption, it would appear that some of the key actors in the NDC, for one reason or the other, are not happy with the OSP. It's not, as you said, it's not clear whether it's the office they are not happy with or is the actors that they are not happy with. Last week, we saw the exchanges of conversations, beginning actually in the media, where bloggers were saying that there's a problem between the Attorney General and the office of the... And then eventually letters came out where the Attorney General is asking for letters from the OSP. The OSP had written some letter to the Chief of Staff, something like that, that he was looking for Ken Ofori-Atta's extradition. The Chief of Staff had just forwarded a letter to the Attorney General, appointed at Article 88. Attorney General says, I'm looking for some letters. It hasn't come. And then the OSP's PR, Samida, comes out and said that there's no problem. We are cooperating and we are doing the work. We have not heard from the Attorney General yet. Yesterday, at the press conference, Dominic Ayini said that there is cooperation, but he's not happy with the extent of the cooperation. So I don't know whether perhaps Parliament must have another look at it and see how to strengthen the office of the OSP or how this would happen. As for extradition, it's never been in the history of international politics and international law, it's never been an easy matter. Extradition is not that simple, especially where you are an African country, third world country, and it is thought that your democracy is not well advanced. It is thought that your democracy still has heavy doses of political discretion. It is thought that your democracy still has heavy doses of partisanship, and then you want to extradite a political opponent. It's always going to be difficult, even between UK and America, between UK and Russia, between UK and Cuba, between America and Cuba, Afghanistan. It's always going to be difficult. International law and international politics does not allow for a simple extradition. You have to make and convince that there's a clear basis for it, that this is not political witch hunt, this is not anything political. And that's what I think I heard, I don't know, I said that they need a proper solid docket showing a lot so that they can proceed with the extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta. There is the lady, the former Maslock lady, Tamaklo, who was convicted by a court, actually. A court convicted her. Sedinam Tamaklo. A court convicted her. And the extradition processes began. I don't think that extradition has been concluded, even when it was based on a ruling and a decision of the court. Because the country that you want to extradite her from are going to look at all the circumstances. They are going to read around the matter. They are going to be sure to convince themselves that there's nothing political in this. Because if there's something political in it, the person has a right. And they don't want human rights being abused. The whole world recognizes human rights as the most fundamental right of every human being, given by God, inalienable right, as they call it. So that's, you have convicted her by a court of competent jurisdiction. They will have to interrogate that properly. That is why those processes are still going on. So I can understand the frustration of the Attorney General. If he has to begin extradition processes and he doesn't have much, even where there's conviction, you still have to defend it and evidence it in a very strong way. And here there's no conviction. How is he going to begin the extradition? I mean, a case has been sold to Ghanaians, especially NDC foot soldiers, that Ofori-Atta did something very wrong. That Ofori-Atta stole money, Ofori-Atta did this and that and that. Things have been said by the investigative agencies. They've talked about SML, they've talked about some Chinese company. STL. It's not STL, it's a Chinese company relating to ECG. I forget the name there, to come. Yes, something. Yes. And that Ofori-Atta was involved. They've talked about COVID spending, and that Ofori-Atta was involved. They've talked about Sputnik, which is also vaccine, that Ofori-Atta was involved. They've talked about all of these things. But how to put together a very solid case to convince American authorities that truly you may have done something wrong, so please, let's go. As the Attorney General said, the extradition that occurred from Ghana to the United States took 6 years for the FBI to put the documents together, and eventually came to Ghana and convinced Ghana that, look, this guy has committed the offense, and so we need him. So the issue is the staff. Does the investigative institution have the staff, the requisite staff, to be able to build that kind of document that will stand the test of time? I don't know. And these are the things that we have to find out. But it's not very healthy that you find the OSP office that is supposed to be an agency under the Office of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General says, give me a document, and they can't find it. I mean, I think perhaps civil society would have to intervene and investigate the relationship and what it is. But yes, there are all sorts of rumors about what we should do with all of these investigative agencies.
I'm sure for someone like you feel vindicated because you from the onset believed that this OSP thing is not going to go anywhere. You've had your own issues with how they've gone about it.
It was always going to clash with the Attorney General's work. And I think that the best way for us to do is to decouple, if we can, if we have the political will. It's a major political will we need to gather to decouple the Office of the Attorney General. Any other effort will always find its way clashing with the Attorney General one way or the other, and it's always going to be complicated. So I think that civil society must begin to look very strongly at how, I don't know whether Kwesi Prempeh's Constitutional Review Committee is looking at it, but we have to look very strongly at how we can look at decoupling the office of the Minister for Justice and that of the Attorney General, who is supposed to be the principal legal advisor to the government, including you and I who are not in power. And that anybody can walk to the Attorney General's office and make a complaint against anybody. And that the Minister for Justice is a political Minister for Justice who sits in cabinet. And that the budget from the Ministry of Finance goes to the Office of the Attorney General separately from that of the Minister for Justice. And then we have to determine the tenure of the Attorney General, whether his tenure is going to be coterminous with the President or not. I really believe that that's where the conversation should go if we're really serious about getting justice delivery cleared out of political and personal and political vendetta and witch hunt and all of that.
Okay, all right. So there's a lady who sent me a message. She's called Ohinewa. I think I've known her for some time as a journalist, but I think now she works with the office of the special prosecutor. She sends a message. Says, "Good morning, guys. I'm quite lost at the brouhaha over the OSP thing. Now, the OSP at the very least has prosecutorial independence from the AG, and it says in law, and most importantly in practice." The OSP has gone after both MPP, i.e. Sisi Adapa and Ken Ofori-Atta, and NDC, i.e. President Mahama and the Airbus scandal. This, for me, at least reflects a willingness of the current OSP leadership to a Ghana line instead of partisan line. Now, while the OSP may be working based on powers shaved off for them from the AG, unlike Yoko and police, the OSP does not go to the AG for approval before commencing prosecution. This is the independence that makes the office relevant. We should be careful not to join the tentacles of a cabal that wants the special prosecutor and or the office gone so that they could create loot and share. This cabal is bipartisan and sees the OSP as their only treat. And she continues to say the OSP was created by political administration, but the OSP was not created as a political tool or a partisan convenience. The creation was a fulfillment of Ghana's obligation under the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Article 6 of the convention calls on state parties to establish bodies that prevent corruption, while Article 36 mandates the creation of specialized and independent authorities with a responsibility to combat corruption through law enforcement. Ohinewa, thanks for sending that message. Yes, I don't know what you make of this.
Let me be clear here. As someone who speaks for the president, often I'm constrained.
Okay.
Because then my views could be misinterpreted to mean.
You know what I was coming to? I thought
my views could be misinterpreted to mean that President Mahama has taken a position or the government has taken a position. So let me be clear that these are my personal views, because the president has not spoken to me on what he makes of the existence of the OSP's office or the OSP, I beg your pardon, or his actions in relation to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. So it is important that I issue that disclaimer.
Okay.
Moro, my position on the OSP, its existence and its work, have been consistent. In fact, if you check the tapes of my appearances on these programs, when Randy Abbey used to rule the roost here, my postings on social media and all that, I have always doubted the functional necessity of the office of the special prosecutor, because I don't see what you do that is exceptionally different from what all the other anti-corruption bodies do. And I also think that the thinking that went into the OSP and the setting up of that office was a bit partisan, even though the texter disagrees. I suspect, and it panned out.
Should that be a staff of OSP?
Well, not a problem. Not a problem. Of course, you can expect her to mount a robust defense, and she's entitled to do so. The OSP has a right to fend off public criticism and set the record straight if he believes that he's being misrepresented. But I was of the view from the very day that President Akufo-Addo broached the idea of the OSP that this thing was not going to work, because it was obvious from the very onset that President Akufo-Addo simply wanted to tap into the angst of Mr. Martin Amidu against the NDC to deal with political opponents. And it played out clearly, because in the run-up to the 2016 elections, Mr. Martin Amidu had fought the NDC on various matters. He was dissatisfied about perceived mistreatment about the NDC. So he went to town on a number of things. And President Akufo-Addo, as a skilled political operator, wanted to tap into this to deal with his political opponents. So the OSP was not really set up properly. In fact, Mr. Martin Amidu, in no time, began to complain about the lack of resources and how spokes were being put in his wheels and what have you. So it was obvious that the intent was not properly couched, and the intent was not as noble as we thought it should be. So very soon they ran into difficulties. Somehow, Mr. Martin Amidu turned his guns on the very administration that appointed him. So somehow he was kicked out. Indeed, I remember his rambling resignation letter, in which he accused President Akufo-Addo of being the mother serpent of corruption and all manner of accusations that he leveled against President Akufo-Addo and his government. When he did his opinion on the SML deal, I believe. Yeah, he said some pretty damning things about the government of the day. So it began to fall apart at the time. Somehow he left office under a haze, under a cloud that has yet not been fully explained. Then came in Mr. Kissie Agyapeng. No sooner had his name emerged than reports surfaced that he was essentially a protege of Gabi Ochedaku. who was trying to foist him on the OSP, as it were, to guard the post and ensure that nothing meaningful is done in the cases of corruption. That has not been helped by the fact that the OSP has little to show for the 5 or 6 years that it's been around in terms of convictions and, solid outcomes that you can put a finger on and use it as justification for the existence of the office. Because mind you, they get quite a lot of funding. I believe that they perhaps even get more funding than the Attorney General office itself. There have also been complaints about how the OSP himself has carried himself. There have been complaints about the airs around him, the sort of vehicles that he uses, the way that he moves in town, the behavior of operatives around him. And these concerns have been raised. You understand me? So it has fed into a certain perception that this is perhaps a creation that was not needed in the first place, and that it has become an inconvenience more than a necessary evil to address the specter of corruption. And it must be what? You see, public perception is extremely important. You find that in recent times too, several people have criticized the OSP for delivering very little as compared to the resources that he has received. And then some too have questioned his posturing on some of the issues that have come to the fore. Some have even questioned why he publishes mugshots of suspects who have been arrested or detained for any number of offenses. So there are significant issues that must be addressed. Okay. There's also a clear conflict between his office and the Attorney General, because sometimes even in the selection of cases as to which matters must be handled by the OSP and which ones must be handled by the Attorney General, it's murky. Look, the Attorney General has a record of, and I'm talking about Attorney Generals in both parties, they have a record of more convictions than the OSP has ever done. Yeah. There were convictions under all the governments that we've seen. The OSP is here to provide evidence of a significant conviction. I saw the conviction of somebody who was fined some amount of money or something like that. Very insignificant development. So people are beginning to question its function, necessity, and its relevance. Now, in respect of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, there's a certain feeling that he is stalling. And that there are even people who suspect that his whole entry into that fray was to actually protect Mr. Ofori-Atta, pretend to be doing something, stall the process, and prevent other institutions from laying hands on Mr. Ofori-Atta. Because once the OSP is seized with the matter, it makes it difficult to go after him, at least on the same matter that the OSP is investigating, because then the issue of double jeopardy may arise. There are people who hold that notion. And it has not been helped by revelations from the Attorney General's office that the sort of cooperation that they expect from the OSP has not come to the fore. Indeed, the Deputy Attorney General had cause to recount that. The Attorney General himself also publicly expressed dissatisfaction about the level of cooperation that they are receiving from the OSP. So it creates a difficulty. It creates serious credibility problems for the OSP. Okay. As to whether or not that office should be scrapped, people have stated their views. But I think that some way, somehow, some conclusion has to be drawn on this particular matter. Because we cannot have an organization that is proving to be counterproductive. Truly speaking, what is it that the OSP is doing that the Attorney General cannot do? In fact, under President Mahama, I spoke about what he did in the National Service case. President Mahama appointed the then Director General. The name, unfortunately, has escaped me. And appointed a number of district directors for the NSS. About 100 of them were put before court. In fact, the most famous instance is Mr. Abu Gapele. Paul mentioned the issue of Malamisa. But Malamisa was essentially a PNC person who was loaned to the NPP. But if you want an instance of a president who has prosecuted one of his own, and if you know the relationship between Mr. Abu Gapele and President Mahama, you would appreciate the difficulty inherent in prosecuting somebody like that. But President Mahama put him before court. Of course, he could not finish the prosecution before he left office because he was voted out of office. The NPP continued it and secured conviction. But President Mahama is the one who started the case. The case of Victoria Hammer. President Mahama fired him over what many people believe to be a flimsy premise for saying essentially he was engaged in gossip with a colleague. That's all that it was. He hadn't stolen anything. He had not actually declared an intention to steal anything. He only said that if he doesn't have $1 million in his account, he will not engage a woman who he believes to be ahead of her, she believes to be ahead of her in politics. That's what David Rama said. And within 24 hours of that development, she was fired from office. So it is possible for a president to take stern action. Indeed, there are two notable personalities in the NDC, people in the top hierarchy of the NDC, who are under investigation for alleged involvement in illegal mining. And this is under an NDC president. So I don't believe that a president is immobilized from taking action against persons belonging to his party or government necessarily. I think that it is a matter of political. You see, the ultimate check on all of this is the Ghanaian public. Ultimately, you will render accounts. If they perceive that you are shielding political cronies and members of your government, they will take action against you as they did against President Akufo-Addo. But is the cure to that the OSP? I am doubtful at this moment because of the outcome that we've achieved.
It was magnanimous and generous enough to dash to give us some 10 more minutes. And so let's see how we can make use of it. So this is hardcore politics. I mean MPP politics. So we're told some 63 MPP MPs have thrown their weight behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I don't know what the significance or importance of this is, but Paul, I know you're very passionate about issues like, I'm not talking about just the MPP issues, but politics general. I mean, yes, he still has it.
He must disclose it on this
program.
Exclusive.
Because technically he would declare.
Exclusive, exactly. He was declared. He's hedging a bit through.
And not care where the chips, may fall. But maybe at some point he will.
No, he must do it today. He must do it today. I don't know what is preventing from it.
So Paul, 63 MPs, big deal?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have a vote. I'm not a delegate, so I don't have a vote.
So out of 80, what? 87, isn't it?
Yeah, out of 87, that significant amount of people, it's a significant number.
Okay.
And I think that is a feather in the cap of Dr. Bawumia's campaign for this election. The Electoral College, however, is over 200,000 people. So if you have 67 declaring for you, it's not a reason to sit on your horse and be complacent. It perhaps indicates that you should work harder. 200,000 people are going to cast a ballot. Every ballot is going to count as one. Majority of the ballots are going to come from the polling station executives. But it's true, these MPs can control influence within their sector. So you are talking about 67 constituencies within...
You mean 63 constituencies?
63 constituencies. You're dealing with 276 constituencies, and you're going to be dealing with about 40,000 polling stations. So this is 63. So in terms of the raw numbers, the real numbers, you may think that if you take 63 out of 200,000, it's not much, but it's politics about influence, okay? So they may have some influence in their constituencies. That is yet to be gauged. What kind of influence they have in their constituencies is yet to be gauged. Because these MPs are coming from, the last election they held was a national election where they were voted for as MPP candidates. They were not voted for as candidates within the MPP primaries for you to use the last election to correctly determine the level of their influence within those constituencies. The election that held was a general election. So the MPP people went out to vote for them. Whether they maintain that level of influence over their constituencies is still yet to be seen. If the party had done what they normally do by going through polling station elections and then constituency elections and then regional elections, then perhaps you would have been able to gauge their influence. But as it is now, you really can't gauge their influence, except to say that you have some very nice people who are declaring for Dr. Bawumia, likes of Kojo Nkrumah and Asenso Boakye and all of these are people who are well liked and quite nice people. So that will be a feather in the cap of Dr. Bawumia. But this is going to be a very difficult election, and it's going to be one of the closely contested elections of the NPP. Some people even think that it might go into a second round. I don't know whether it should. I don't think it's good for the NPP if it goes to a second round, but that's what some people think. It's better for the NPP if it doesn't go into a second round. And it's going to be closely contested. The obvious candidate against whom everyone is polling is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, because he's the incumbent. He won a handsome 60% in the last election, and he led the NPP to the last election. There have been many theories, some of which will not be settled until the next election, about why the NPP lost, whether it was his fault, whether it wasn't his fault, whether it was a combination of some of it being his fault and all of that. All of that is part of the process. Kennedy Agyapong comes up as the second in command, given that he came second in the last election. Kwabena Agyapong has joined the race, and he was a big supporter of Dr. Bawumia, and perhaps he was a big supporter of the NPP. So is Osei Aweduchum and Brian Achampong. So Dr. Bawumia has these three people who are now competing against him. I was excited with the meeting Nana Akufo-Addo held for all of them.
What's happening on Monday also?
Because it appeared that the campaign was degenerating. And in politics, you really can't stop that. You've got to have all these things happen because you are running as presidential candidate, but you have many supporters, and your supporters are fighting with another person's supporters. It's like that. It's going to happen where there's no clear, real dominant leader. So I was happy that Akufo-Addo put his foot in and said, look, hold your horses. This is an internal contest. Let's come have breakfast, talk to each other. When the supporters see this, the optics will work on them and it will help. And I can see that since Monday, you've had a minimal vitriolic campaign from both sides. And so, yes, that worked. I think everyone is in a hurry to see the 1st January come and go because it's difficult to even gauge. Polls have come out. Right. Musa Dankwa's polls have consistently showed Dr. Bawumia leading and perhaps winning. And there's a new poll, a guy interviewed him, Evans Dua, who has polled that Kennedy Japan is leading. Soon after he did the poll, social media had text messages between him and Kennedy people suggesting that the whole poll was cooked by the Kennedy campaign. The Kennedy campaign suggests that the Musa Dankwa poll is cooked because Musa Dankwa has a good relationship with Dr. Bawumia. All of that is going on. I quickly want that to end. Okay. And so when January 31st comes and then they have there's an obvious elected leader of the MPP, the campaign can really start. What I'm waiting to see is where Felix will stand when the Julius Deborah and Asiedu Nketia, now Professor Jenano Pokwajema, Idrisu Haruna and all of that. The other day we were here and Felix was playing down what I said about Haruna Idrisu talking about the 2 days later, Haruna Idrisu must have been watching the program. He said, oh, yes. Paul was right. He didn't quite mention my name. But I was actually asking for an interpretation of it and emphasize that Vice President Professor Jenano Pokwajema is a viable candidate for the process. Haruna Idrisu is saying that knew that Johnson Asiedu Nketia is running for the show. He also knows that Julius Deborah is running for the show. He's clearly indicating his preference for the vice president. I'm guessing that Felix, the kind of work he does in the office of it's going to be very difficult for him to look at the vice president if she's interested in running and say that I'm not going to support you. Okay. Ofosu Ampofo is a very important political actor that many people don't know, haven't studied. I don't know what I write about, but I have studied him from Accra Technical University. I used to go to the campus there and to look at his mobilization. He's a very powerful political operator. He held Fantiakwa away from all the important UP people traditions and delivered it in, I believe, 96 and 2000. He's a very strong guy. It is widely said, and I believe it, that he is the McCoy behind Professor Jenano Pokwajema's campaign. With him is Alex Segbefia, whom you can't rule off. And I studied Alex Segbefia in 2008 when he promised me that he was going to change the face of the NDC, and he did. So there's major things coming up. It's going to be exciting more because they are in government. And so 31st January must quickly come and pass. Okay. And I think the best decision that Akufo-Addo took for the MPP was to advise that they should hold the contest early and get it out of the way. Right. So there's a lot of politics ahead of us and we are going to be very excited. So apart from me declaring my stand on the MPP issues, because I'm not a delegate to vote. Okay. So whatever stand I declare is inconsequential. Okay. Felix Kwakye-Ofosu is the government spokesperson, must declare his stand between his chief of staff, who he sees every day, his vice president, who he sees every day, who he thoroughly loves, and perhaps he can link and help us to understand what President Mahama is thinking. All right. And then we get to
Felix, I was surprised if you're not clearly monitoring what's happening within the
First of all, there's no contest in the NDC for flag leadership. So the situation, that question does not even begin to arise. Number two, the NDC has done this over and over and over. In fact, we've had Mrs. Rollins, who was a very powerful woman in the NDC, challenge an incumbent president, and we scaled it. So it is not a problem at all. When the time comes, we will maneuver it successfully. We will come up with a very viable candidate who will continue with the legacy of President Mahama. But regarding the MPP, because they are the ones who are holding a contest now, for me, I think that they've misdiagnosed their problem. The decision to hold this contest so early points to a misdiagnosis of why they lost. Somehow they believe that it was internal divisions that led them to opposition. That is not the case. More, I've told you here that the people of Ghana have shown in the last 8 elections or so that it is their welfare, how they feel about their welfare, that motivates them to go for one party or the other. Look, in 2014, the MPP was in complete disarray. By the time they went for the elections, they had slaughtered a party chairman in the Upper East also, Alhaji Adams, Chairman Adams. Acid was poured on him, he died. They had staged brawls in their party headquarters. Haji Afati and Co. had charged on opponents of Akufo-Addo within the party and harassed them. We saw the killings in Asawase. I think 2 people also died from clashes within the MPP. Yet they won the elections by close to 1 million votes in 2016. What does that tell you about the people of Ghana? They are unconcerned about happenings within parties. What they care about is what they believe the government of the day has done or not done. So if you take that into consideration, you see that all of this hoopla is much ado about nothing. Look, it is obvious that having been the immediate past candidate of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia goes into that primaries with an edge. Except that perhaps he may have a bit more challenge this time than he did when the whole establishment was behind him. Indeed, there are credible reports that President Akufo-Addo himself has now distanced himself from Dr. Bawumia and is backing Brian Acheampong. This is an open secret. Everybody knows it because you see that key operatives within the Akufo-Addo government and the NPP machinery are supporting Brian Acheampong. It is also obvious that now Kennedy Aponah does not have to deal with the system. So there's a bit more wind in his sail at this particular moment. And he is mounting a credible challenge. But despite that, I think that Dr. Bawumia, having contested once and having been marketed before, stands a chance. Also, there's a certain natural sympathy that he will get within the NPP, having lost the elections. It has happened in all political parties. So I will not be surprised if he won. As to whether or not he will win by a wider margin this time than before remains to be seen. MPs rallying support, for me, it is inconsequential. The average MP would want to play safe. They wouldn't want to rock the boat because there are consequences for their own elections internally. And I must indicate, having participated at the constituency level in terms of electioneering and mobilization, that constituency-based elections, primaries for MPs or parliamentary candidates, are more divisive than presidential primaries. Because what happens is that the people who are within the branches, or even like the polling stations, as the NPP calls them, are far removed from those at the top who are battling it out. So they don't really have personal relationships. So they may listen to an influential person and vote one way or the other, or based on their own views about the people that they know from a distance. They may take certain decisions. But when it comes to internal primaries, what happens is that there are closer relationships. And so the schisms are deeper. The divisions are deeper. And that is even more likely to affect the party's prospects than the primaries upstairs, at the top of the party. I cannot place a finger on any instance where legitimate division at the top of a party affected its outcomes in elections. And 2016 is a typical example. In fact, I don't know of any party that went into the 2016 that has gone into elections that was as divided as the NPP was in 2016. Yet they put up a stellar performance, swept parliament, and won by almost 1 million votes. So it tells you that the NPP has misdiagnosed their problem. They don't know where their problem is. In fact, the one who is likely to win, Bawumia, will also be their weakest link in the 2028 elections. For as long as this economy does better than what they left, Dr. Bawumia will struggle to convince the people of Ghana that he has what it takes to run this country. You see, he himself is a bundle of contradictions. In one breath, he says he was the be-all and end-all of all NPP policies. Sometimes he takes credit for even things that predict him, like interoperability and what have you. Yet, in another breath, he says that he had no role to play in the NPP and that the economic mess was not his doing. Meanwhile, we all know that as far back as 2008, when he was first tapped to be President Akufo-Addo's running mate, when he didn't even have an NPP membership card, which led to strong protests from Kennedy Aponah, if you read Arthur Kennedy's book. It is the economy that has been cited for the reason why he was tapped to partner President Akufo-Addo. Maybe in 2008 it was a bit less pronounced. But in 2012, he started holding public lectures to demonstrate his capacity in economic governance. Indeed, in 2016, President Akufo-Addo was clear in his statements that he had gone for Dr. Bawumia because of his economic prowess and that he was going to hand over the management of the economy to him. When they came to power, he sought to take credit for every gain that was made in the economy. Yet, the moment the economy turns out, he tried to distance himself. So, it raised serious credibility problems for him in the eyes of the Ghanaian electorate. For as long as he remains active in politics, he will always be associated with the economic downturn that proved disastrous for the average Ghanaian. He has not been able to overcome that. So no amount of maneuvering, it doesn't matter how he wins in the NPP. People will always compare his performance to what is happening today. And you see, voters are rational decision makers. The average voter, to the extent that they are of sound mind and of the right age, is rational in his decision making. When he goes to vote, if the conditions under which he lives presently are better than what existed under a previous government that he has voted at, he is most unlikely to go back. So that is Dr. Bawumia's conundrum. If you look at the economic performance today, it is much better than what he left. So exactly what indeed I've seen him say, for instance, that he will deliver world-class governance. Meanwhile, you left power barely 10 months ago. Where was that world-class governance? People can say that it is the worst period that this country has had to go through under your stewardship of the economy.
But he was not the president.
Sure, he was not. So he was not the president when he claimed that those 33 policies that were implemented were his brainchild. Today he claims that he was the brain behind gold for oil. Despite gold for oil, our economy collapsed. Our currency collapsed. It moved from 6 cedis to 17 cedis. When he was leaving power, the economy was around the cedi was around 17 cedis to $1. He was not the president, and yet he said that he introduced gold for oil. He was not the president, but he says that he introduced interoperability. He wasn't the president, but he says he introduced that thing that they used to transport some blood to be, what is it called? What do you call it? The drone service. He was not president, was he? He wasn't president, but he says he introduced,
isn't it? The zip line.
Zip line, yes. He said he was not president, but he says he introduced it.
So those were the things he could do.
So, but what is the effect, the totality of what he did? No, hold on. He says that he was the brain behind gold for oil.
Yes.
Not so.
Yes.
He was the brain behind the accumulation of gold by the central bank.
Yes.
So they had been accumulating gold since 2022 or so. And yet, the purpose of the accumulation, which was to bolster the currency, was not realized. The currency performed at its worst level when he was doing that. What is the outcome of what he did? So that contradiction, and it appears that he still continues to drive that mantra, is going to create a permanent credibility crisis for him. People, you see, the more he tries to run away from the economic hardships that he created, the more people associate him with it. So his difficulty really is not going to be in the MPP. In fact, this week, contrary to Paul's claim that there has been some toning down in the vitriol, it has not been the case. MPP people, indeed Brother Champo, has publicly accused Bawumia of destroying the currency. And his supporters have told the same lie. They have gone to town accusing him of, and if they were NDC people, you could say that we engage in the usual politics. But these are MPP people. Many of them are supporters of Akufo-Addo. They are saying that Bawumia is responsible for the collapse of the currency. And if you know the role that the currency plays in economic management, you see that it is at the heart of many of our problems. The mismanagement that went on.
Okay.
They said that he did it. So if your own party hold you accountable for the destruction of the Ghanaian economy that we witnessed, what do you expect the general public to perceive of you? So his biggest problem really is not these primaries. I believe that he will win. What remains to be seen is a margin of victory. But as for the general elections, today is what, 24th October. For as long as this economy continues on the trajectory that Dr. Atufo under the able leadership of President Mahama are taking it, Bawumia will struggle to convince Ghanaians otherwise.
All right, so Dr. Seth sends a message. It says, if support from Dr. Seth from Accra, right? If support from our MPs are inconsequential, let us wait for the declaration by 2024 parliamentary candidates. The block of MPs.
You see, the point
of
MPs. Moro, I'm saying that. I said that it is immaterial the scheme of things.
Yes. So if the support from MPs are inconsequential, let us wait for the declaration by 2024 parliamentary candidates. The block of MPs and PCs have a huge support base. Felix should be honest with the truth. And the dollar was not 17 cedis when MP left office in January. It was 14.6.
Moro, listen. Listen.
Leaving power.
When you talk about the exchange, when you talk about the exchange rate, you see the Bank of Ghana, all they do is to average the rates you pay in various banks. So they call it the interbank rate. But that is not only in banks that people trade in foreign currency. People go to forex bureaus. In fact, I will discount Abuchi because they are illegal. So I will discount that. But the Bank of Ghana gives licenses to forex bureaus to operate. So they sell. When you go there, it was 17, it is legitimate.
As at when?
As at December 2024. I know that because I did the transaction.
Oh.
Yes.
So Gaiji from Gaiji.
So I don't know why they deny what is obvious.
Okay. So Gaiji from Cantonment says Tim Kent's campaign is bolstered by the grassroots. We fear not. If 136 MPs is equal to 61%, 63 MPs is equal to X%, find X. It says get Ken connected.
And
there's some of
on the ground. You actually do the
mobilization. It doesn't really matter. It says ask anyone about the whereabouts of the Airbus docket. Moro. It says Musa Danko has proven himself to be a credible pollster, and I believe in polls. Even if they were to come from a madman, they have set priorities. It's good that the majority of MPs have endorsed Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, but most of these MPs are only using him for their own personal gain.
Exactly.
What Dr. Bawumia's campaign should worry about is that his votes keep dropping each time Musa releases his polls.
So if you can discern that this is a staunch Akufo-Addo supporter who is now against Bawumia. So it tells you that
there's no record that Akufo-Addo is against Bawumia.
Okay.
Of course, not public.
All right.
But we all know exactly where the problem is.
Alfred Kojo Tredel
But they are
says a message.
who are
Says
with
that
yes, they are blocking ranks, but
so
in the main,
Alfred Kojo Tredel says
they support.
I seriously think that the NDC, led by Vision Leader His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, should shut the office of the OSP and allocate his budget to the Attorney General Yoko and the CID. I believe that would be more useful. Kise Jabing in that office as the OSP will not and will never prosecute a foul. He's just playing games. Tredel sends that message. And finally, Master Planner Junior Policy Analyst Kintampo says great submissions by Apostle Paul, the Attorney General or Nole Prosecco and Oral team should rather channel their energy to Sednam Tamaklo. She has been found guilty by a court for stealing and causing financial loss to the state. That money is ready on the table, so the Attorney General and the Oral team should bring her to serve the 10-year jail and also retrieve our monies for us. If that is not done, then they should stop the concerned media prosecution based on allegation. Master Planner Junior Policy Analyst from Kintampo. And Dr. Seth is back. He says, I'm a staunch Akufo-Addo supporter and I support Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And this one here says that, okay, so this man, he says, okay, all right, how about Aseso Boakye and Jinapo? Okay, all right. So I guess that would have to end it here. I wanted us to look a bit about NIMOS, but we've run out of time, and so we'd rather we'll look at that next week. Hopefully next week, Friday, when you come, because it looks like NIMOS has been very busy. Absolutely. And you have been charitable enough by how do you call it, updating us from time to time on some of the things we've done. In fact, just today, I've seen NIMOS storms on the Forest Reserve.
Odda Forest Reserve. People are confusing it with Odda Forest Reserve.
Oh, this is
Odda. It's a river around which there's a forest, so it's called Odda Forest Reserves. And there were some gentlemen masquerading as national security operatives who were holding sophisticated weapons. So NIMOS rounded them up and disrupted their operations in there. And this week they've done a number of operations which we've highlighted. So it goes to show the level of seriousness attached to the fight. And presently we'll see the outcome.
Okay. So there's a rejoinder, as I did indicate, from how do you call it, from GH Plant Pool, and it's in response to some comments that was made by the Ghana Attorney General at the media encounter, and they are responding to some of those issues. Now, this is Rejoined Accra, October 23, 2025. JEPP sets the record straight on the District Road Improvement Program, that's DRIP. Is that the management of GH Plant Pool Ghana Limited, JAP, has noted with deep concern the recent public disclosure by the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Dominic Ayeni, on the District Roads Improvement Program DRIP and setting allegations purportedly involving our company. Now, while JAPP remains fully respectful of the constitutional mandate of the Attorney General, the company finds the said disclosure unfortunate as it presents a partial narrative of the issues and risks tarnishing the company's hard-earned reputation built over years of diligent service to the government and people of Ghana. Now, these assertions are not accurate as per the contract terms, and JEPP wishes to clarify the issues as follows. One, and now this is the statement by the agent, that's where they start from. In respect of the DRIP program, I have demanded a refund of $2 million from JH Plant Pool, and after investigation revealed financial irregularities in the District Roads Improvement Program, although the contract sum was $176 million, records showed that a total of $178 million was paid, resulting in an excess of $2 million. Now, this is their response by JH Plant Pool on this alleged overpayment of $2 million. Now, it says on the above, by a contract dated and executed. Oh, okay. I think you've jumped it. Please bring it back. You've jumped it. Please bring it back. Bright and Annie. No. Yes. Take it down a little bit. Okay. Perhaps I may have to read it from my phone directly. Yes. So it says that. It says response on the above by contract dated and executed on 12 February 2024. The purchaser, that's Government of Ghana, agreed with the supplier JAPP to acquire earth-moving equipment to be distributed amongst all district assemblies in Ghana. Now, the 2,420 units equipment, which formed the subject matter of the contract, was fully itemized together with their individual prices in Schedule 1 of the agreement, the total contract price was stated as $178 million and a bit, consistent with Clause 3.11 of the contract, which explicitly provides that this amount represents the full contract price for the supply of the equipment by the supplier. Now, the Public Procurement Authority's approval document stated the amount of $178 million, which was consistent with the same 178 clearly stated in the contract. It is therefore factually inaccurate and incorrect to assert that the contract sum was $176 million. Official contract amount duly executed by all parties remains $178 million. Now, a clerical mistake in the PPA's approval letter, particularly relating to the pricing of the wheel loader line item, gave the appearance of the discrepancy. The supplier, JAPP, promptly notified the approving authorities upon discovery of the error for the same to be corrected. Accordingly, any perceived excess of $2 million did not arise from an overpayment to JAPP, but from a clerical mistake, and JAPP cannot be held liable for errors originating from approving authorities, especially where all the approvals and payments were sanctioned through lawful governmental channels. It must therefore be clearly stated that the total contract sum is $178,704,379.50 and not $176 million as stated by the Attorney General, and that no overpayment occurred. Government, being a continuum, bears the responsibility to rectify clerical errors appearing in its own document and to regularize the record in accordance with the executed contract. Let me just do the second one, and the rest you can go on Metro TV online and read, please. Now, number 2, statement by AG, investigations uncovered tax evasion totaling 38.7 million cedis after 190 pieces of equipment were imported and cleared under false tax exemption claims. Now, response by JAPP on the alleged tax evasion of 38.7 million cedis. Now, it says the claim that JAPP imported and cleared 190 pieces of equipment under false tax exemption claims is equally incorrect. Our records, supported by the verifiable documentation, confirm that only 99 extra equipment components were imported beyond the contractual 2,420 units. Now, these items were largely semi-knocked down components of the low-bed trailers and service equipment necessary for the maintenance and after-sales support of the drip machinery. It is pertinent to note that additional equipment in question was imported by JAPP together with the contracted equipment exclusively to support and maintain the operational efficiency of the drip project, and not for JAPP's separate commercial gain or trading purposes. Additionally, all the said equipment were declared to the Ghana Revenue Authority and placed under the bonded warehouse. It is evident that there is no case of tax evasion. There are also other issues of audit further detecting significant over-invoicing. They've responded to that as well. There are also issues about value for money analysis of the DRIP project. They've responded to that as well. There's also appreciation and continued commitment to Ghana's development, which ends the entire statement. It's a pretty lengthy one, but you can always trust that when you go on a Metro TV online, you can read the entire thing, so you can also, update yourself. Yeah.
That they are free to state their position on the matter. They put it out, so now it's up to the public to weigh what they are saying against the agents. But of course, if the AG proceeds further, then they would have opportunity to defend themselves in the court of law. So there's no problem with the AG stating the facts as he believes them to be so.
All right. So, Felix, thank you very much for joining us. And I can tell you that Felix has agreed that at least every Friday, for as long as he's in town and he's not extremely busy, he'll be here on Good Morning Ghana. That's a declaration he's made. I'm doing that on his behalf. In fact, next week Friday, he would officially declare that. I'll make sure he does that. He's a minister.
Enya victory garlic mixture na wati ni bina ati ni say na edro ni tie na no kwasem ne say edro we adwuma ye titru pa ne say ebeboa ananna ne srade e wo ni padua ni mu ntin mu ama wo hu atɔ kra